Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
Yeah, I think 90% of the people I invited to come on tonight said that they're sick, and 85% of them blame Grant.
Yeah, I was like, freaking Sean Stone blamed me for getting him sick. I didn't even see him. Like, after his show, I didn't even see the guy. He just, like, left town with his children. And he's like, oh, Grant got me sick. I didn't even see, whatever.
Didn't you play with him at the pink ball?
Yes.
Well, there's where it happened.
I'm pretty sure, actually, we were talking about that. Perhaps the norovirus was formed during that moment between the three people. On the three men, two guitars. And a virus is born. I don't know.
That's science.
Yo, tell me about this virus. Like, what the fuck is this thing?
Wait, let's save it for the show.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's get things rolling if we're not rolling.
Let's do this. So, what's up, everyone? This is the SML podcast. We are back after our MAGFest week off. Thank fucking God I got to have a week off. And joining, we're gonna get a bunch of people that I saw and hung out with at MAGFest. Starting off with my old number 2, Kris Huber. Welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I needed that vacation just as well, so I'm glad I was able to get that in. So
I called you number 2.
Well, you know, it's accurate in many ways than one. So
also joining, member of I believe half of the bands at MAGFest, Grant Henry. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
You know what, Grant? You know what?
Hey! You all right?
Also joining us, the connoisseur of all things, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson related, and one of the most lovely people I've ever had the pleasure of sharing 1/8 of the bed with, Jen Gonzalez. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
We're here.
you're wonderful.
Yeah.
Stuck doing this shit.
I'm just here playing a game while listening to all you nerds.
Are you persona-ing still?
Yes, I'm still personaing.
Nice.
Does one ever stop personaing?
Never. Because you have continuous things to do in this game. It just never ends, and there's New Game Plus.
So you just go forever.
So you just go forever, really.
Nice. And if we're going to talk MAGFest, who better to get involved than someone from MAGFest? Paul Good, how are you doing today, sir?
I am, peachy keen.
Just
Everything
peachy
is
keen?
wonderful.
It's over.
Yeah, basically, MAGFest is over and nothing burned down and nobody died and I can breathe. It's all okay.
Until the next one.
We made it. We made it for another year.
Yep.
We were also going to have one other person joining us, William Reyes of The OneUps. Unfortunately, he had an event he had to attend to tonight, so instead of him being here, he sent me 4 audio clips to play whenever we have a question for him. So does anybody have a question for William?
You know what? I don't want to waste it. I'm gonna think about it.
Oh, we only get one?
It's a good one.
We only get one, I guess.
No, you can. It's just whenever.
Okay.
So it's like, William, what are you planning on doing tonight?
Sucking Joe's dick.
No. It's going to be that kind of party.
Can you believe he would say that?
Not at all.
What?
He.
What?
Even he
So
doesn't
we have
believe
a
it.
Soundboard?
Yeah, I
Pretty
feel
much.
left out without the soundboard here.
I
Everybody's
like
got their wrestling clips and stuff, and I got nothing.
Was that a Will giggle? Is that what that was? Was the Reyes giggle? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
That's him.
Wow.
Fuck you.
That's what I got to work with Will tonight.
That's
It's like he's here.
stuff.
It's like he's here.
It's like he's here, yeah.
It is.
I
It's pretty much
aspire to be-
everything he says in real life.
Yeah, I aspire to be as thoughtful a guest
You know, I wanted to try and sneak one of the times when he came back up to the room to make himself a drink and just get him isolated saying, like, I'm just going to make myself a little drinky poo. Like, because he said it like maybe like 5 or 6 times. Yeah. And I was like, I like that that's your catchphrase for the weekend. Like, it's perfect.
I'll make sure to let him know that you're disappointed he didn't send that audio clip.
Should have recorded that one. Well, you know, I'm just gonna make myself a little drinky poo.
Oh, so
I got to see a bit of him. I got to see a bit of him this weekend. He was just sort of around, like in all places at once.
Yeah,
like
he was like everywhere.
He's like incog. You know, he's like, I don't play any instruments. What are you talking about? I love it because he'll go. He gives me shit. He'll be like, Grant, I'll play a show, and he'll say, you the man. I go, well, you the man. He goes, fuck you, man. That's his thing. And then, but I heard someone, I think I was talking to this guy Anton in the jam space. He was like, someone recognized him and went up to him and said, hey. Someone went up to Will in the jam space. It was like, hey, do I know you? Do you play an instrument? And he's like, no, I'm just a guy. just like, that's just like the most Will thing you could possibly say.
Pretty much.
For the weekend, he's not a one-up.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
Just really a guy who drank an excessive amount.
Dude, he was the champion of the weekend.
He really was.
Like,
were there any nights that he was sober?
No. But to be fair, I didn't help that.
Did any of us help that?
Maybe not.
Oh, man.
My Saturday was more sober than I had intended, but I did drink a bottle of Gatorade.
Which was probably just as important.
Yeah, more important.
I
saw some of y'all. I got to watch Vince DiCola standing with Paul and Dare. So that was cool in the audience. Finally getting DiCola at MAG, and I got to hang out with those guys for that. They saw you that night, Joe. Chris, I didn't see you at all, buddy. I don't know where you were.
So I watched you guys. I watched the LRS set with Vince. I was kind of bouncing all over the place. I actually saw him in Jam Space with Danimal.
Oh yeah, cool.
And that was cool. That was fun. He's fucking phenomenal. Like, he's incredible.
Almost like he's a professional musician.
Yeah, almost. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I was just hanging out the whole weekend. Just, I didn't want to have any terrible obligations. Like, I didn't do any Rock Island stuff. I was just like, you know what? I got the time off. I'm just going to hang out. I'm just going to spend some time with friends and just, I did do something really stupid Saturday night. But aside from that, I was just hanging out. I don't know if it got back to you, but I did a really dumb set in Jam Space.
Oh, cool. No. Is it recorded in some form?
Probably not. I don't know. No, I don't think anybody, I didn't really like put it out there for anybody to record. I may actually like do a recording myself of it, just like more proper. But I cut, man, I wish I could have at least gotten the reaction when I said it.
Okay, for the people who don't know what you did, because I'm sure some of our listeners may not know, what did you perform at MAGFest?
I cut together a 30-minute medley straight through, no stops, of the entire McDonald's Treasureland Adventure soundtrack for the Sega Genesis.
The hell?
And dude, I had a fucking blast. Like, it was great. It was right before Super Soul Brothers. People actually liked it, like, but were confused as fuck. Yeah, it was cool.
How do you start a show? Like, what do you say to the crowd?
I vaguely remember how I started it. I don't remember it verbatim, but I did something along the lines of, and before I even say that, like, Jam Space was actually like popping that night. Like, for some reason, like, I was in there like here and there throughout the whole weekend. It was, you know, your standard, like, maybe like 10, 20 people, whatever. I don't know how many people were in there, but it seemed pretty good.
It was packed.
Yeah. I didn't have a head count, but so I get up there. I get everything set up. I go over to the mic and I was just like, "How's everybody's MAGFest doing?" And they, you know, you hear good applause and everybody ready for the Super Soul Brothers? Woo, yeah! How many of you guys own the Sega Genesis? Woo, yeah! And I'm like, I got them. Like, they're fucked. They're screwed. So I just paused right there, and I think I said something along the lines of like, all right, for the next 30 minutes, here's McDonald's Treasureland Adventure for the Sega Genesis. Let's get weird. And then I just fucking started. Yep. Dude, he was standing, I think like about halfway through the medley, he started standing like right up front, like right next to the one pillar. I didn't get to like really like call him out at all, but it was cool. It was funny.
My God.
I just saw him like sneaking through everybody because there was a decent amount of people that he had to like get across. And he's just like tiptoeing through them all. Like,
did he crowd surf up?
No, there was a decent amount of people on the one side just kind of like sitting down. Actually, there was like, I think most people were actually sitting down the whole time. I didn't give him a chance to fucking leave. Like I'm like, if I'm gonna try and play as an opener for somebody else and try and like, I want to keep the crowd there. So I'm like, if I cut this whole thing together as a 30-minute medley, like they won't have a choice. Like,
they have to stay.
They have to sit there.
Didn't Soul Brothers thank you for that, by the way?
Oh yeah, they said later that night they found the ROM of it and they were playing it up in their room and they're like, "This is fantastic! Like, this is great."
So when the next Super Soul Brothers album comes out with some McDonald's Treasureland Adventure on it, we know who to blame.
Here's the other kicker, right? So Ryberg comes up to me after I'm done and he's just like, "I did not know how ridiculous that was going to be. I sent him the medley beforehand because he was the one putting the showcase together." He's like, I had no idea it was going to be like that ridiculous. Like it was basically like a 30-minute prog epic. He's like, I looked up the guy that put together the soundtrack, and apparently he's some like big prog head from Japan.
Oh Lord.
So he's like, I might try and reach out to him for next year and see if we could bring him in.
Oh
Would you
my
be down
God.
to do this again? I'm like, fuck yes.
Oh my God.
So as far as I know, Ryberg's
some people like Rush, some people like Tool, some people like Yes, McDonald's Treasureland Adventure.
Now listen, I cannot talk this soundtrack up enough. Like if you haven't heard it, it's fire. Like it's so good. It's some of my favorite video game music like of all time. Like and I'm not afraid to say that.
Link me, homie.
Yeah, I'm gonna need proof. This is fucking claims.
Great. It's great. I love it.
Well, Chris, that's on you to start providing links to everyone.
I got it. Oh, I got you.
Oh, man. So, Paul, what did you do this weekend? Or this past weekend at MAGFest? What all did you do? Did you have a nice, easy, relaxing weekend?
Mostly. I mean, I'll tell you what I've been telling everybody all weekend when they were asking me. It was more good than bad, and that's all I can hope for. It was a hell of a lot better than my last MAGFest, which was kind of a nightmare for partially personal reasons and partially MAGFest reasons. I got to have fun. It was cool. I got to play in the BattleTech pods. I got to play some Killer Queen. I got to hang out with Freddie Wong, who finally showed up after like 5 years of trying to get him out to MAGFest. He came out this year and was totally into it. Yeah, I got to hang out, check stuff out, and enjoy MAGFest probably more than I have in a long ass time.
Nice.
So, yeah, that was great.
I did not know that Freddie Wong was there.
Yeah, we found him at. It's a funny story actually. Dare, who's the crazy California stoner kid who runs MAGWest, found Freddie at MAGWest because we were at the same time and place as Crunchyroll, and Freddie was an official guest at the first ever Crunchyroll Expo, and we were just like, we were infiltrating whenever we could, and Dare like found Freddie and just grabbed him and was like, yo, you need to come to our event, and like apparently like trapped him on an elevator or something and wouldn't let him go until he came over. Perfect. And now we've been hanging out with him. He's good times. He is, in case you have any doubt, he is exactly who he seems to be from his videos. He's incapable of acting. He only plays himself. Like if you've seen his videos, you know what Freddie Wong is like.
Mm-hmm. Oh Lord! So what was attendance this year, by the way?
A little up. I think it was the highest ever. I don't remember. Like I don't know the numbers offhand. I haven't been paying as much attention to the numbers in the last few years because like I mean, I used to be the guy running the budgets and coming up with the ticket caps and everything. So I used to pay a lot of attention to the numbers. But for the last 3 years, we've been effectively capped out by the size of the town. You know, like when people get pissed off about hotel rooms, they quit coming, and
people just fill their place.
Yeah, like the Gaylord sold out in under 10 minutes this year.
Which is pretty fucked up when you think about it.
Right.
That's insane. That's so nuts.
We are literally selling out all of our hotel rooms as fast as the servers can possibly dole them out. So we just don't have the space anymore. And because people live at MAGFest, it's not like one of these Comic Cons or concerts or whatever, will people like drive in for an evening, watch the show, and then fuck off back home. People live at MAGFest, and if they can't come there and stay there for the weekend, they're not as interested.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know if I would have been there.
It seems like we've got enough hotel rooms to support about 20,000 people there. And the only way MAGFest is getting any bigger is if the Gaylord builds 1,000 more rooms, which, isn't happening anytime soon. They put up that casino up the street, and the casino just doesn't really want to play in our world. They don't have any reason to.
Yeah.
The only reason MAGFest even exists is because we go to the venue and we say, okay, what is the cheapest weekend you can possibly put us in? And that's the weekend right after New Year's. And when we moved to February, I had to explain to everybody, look, MAGFest doesn't actually pick its dates. We let the venue pick our dates. They put us there. We don't have a lot of say in it, because we could have a lot of say in it, but that would cost another $500,000. So the casino is up the road now, and they've got, 600, 800 hotel rooms or something, and this gigantic, crazy mall in there. It's pretty nuts. I checked it out recently.
Damn.
But they're high roller territory. Their money. Their rooms are like $500 a night minimum or something.
That.
I don't know what they actually are. I know some people stayed there, and they probably go down to like 300 or something. But they're just not interested in making deals with us. They've got no reason to.
Yeah.
So, that was the only thing that might have expanded the population of MAGFest, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So it looks like for the foreseeable future, anyway, we're sitting at about 20,000 people. And last year was the first year ever, period in the history of MAGFest that attendance actually went down. We had 1,000 people less than we had the year before.
Oh, wow.
And if I remember right, that was partly due to a snowstorm. But we just sort of it's obvious that we've hit our limit there now. Super MAGFest is not growing anymore. It's done. We're sitting at about 20,000 people, and we can't fit anymore.
Are you guys good sticking with 20,000 people and just enjoying it year after year, or are you looking at possible new venues?
Well, we had this discussion years ago when we knew we were going to hit the limits at the Gaylord, and we decided that rather than just continuing to try to grow vertically as much as we can, we're gonna spread out to the sides, and that's what MAGWest is about. And one of the highlights of my MAGFest this year is I talked to a bunch of people who are interested in starting MAGFest events in other places. So we have serious seeds being planted, not just with MAGWest, but in Florida, in Austin, Texas, in Sao Paulo, Brazil,
Jesus,
in Hong Kong, and in Tokyo.
Good Lord.
Dude, Mag Tokyo would be insane.
We've got it. Man, people keep clamoring for it. Dude, it's been 10 years people have been asking for a MAGWest, and we finally pulled it off this summer. And people have been asking for a Mag Tokyo for a while, and we've got a Japan crew. We've got people that are living out there and rubbing elbows with the Japanese game developers and everything, and they're starting to stir up some shit. But the Hong Kong one is what's interesting. There's a guy in Hong Kong who's running an event that is effectively already a MAGFest event. He's been running this retro game festival in Hong Kong for 2 years. and he came to MAGFest for his first time this year. And he talked to us, and he's just like, "Yeah, I want you guys to come do your thing with me. I want my event to be a real MAGFest event." So we have a turnkey operation just sitting there waiting for us to put our stamp on it. You know,
damn.
We just gotta go to Hong Kong and be like, "Yes, this is a MAGFest event," and then we have MAGFest Hong Kong. I'm so psyched about that. I'm nice. So excited about it. And the dude was super, super cool. I couldn't have hoped for better. He totally got MAGFest. He totally got the feel of it and why we do it and the motivations and all that. And he just he wants to bring that to Hong Kong. So
when are you flying to Hong Kong?
As soon as possible, man.
Jen, can you help him out?
How excited I am.
I probably could, yeah, because I'm really interested in this.
Yeah.
I would be willing to travel, yeah, because I'm a flight attendant, so I would be willing to go anywhere that MAGFest is, arranged. I'm in California, and I went to MAGWest, and it was great because it was small.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I can't deal with 20,000 plus people and can't get a room. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I can't do it. And if it wasn't for Joe Cam, I would not have gone to MAGFest. So that's why he's so amazing.
Yeah, debatable.
Oh, debatable. I just blew kisses at you. You don't appreciate that?
Thank you. Not often that the guests blow kisses at me. Grant did it a few times, but
I did it in person.
So, Grant, what all did you do this past weekend besides get everybody sick?
Well, it was pretty much that. It was rehearsals for bands and rehearsals for getting people sick, and then actually playing shows and then actually getting people ill.
Did you fulfill your quota that you were striving for?
Yeah, I kind of ran out of juice. You know what I mean? You only got so much
sick juice.
So much sick juice, right? So here's
I got you some of this sick juice.
Yeah, MAGWest is a smaller event.
Oh, friggin' sick juice.
Jen, fair warning. But yeah, it was. I had a really good weekend. I was covered with stuff to do, but because the two full shows that I played, Viking Guitar and Retroactive, were sort of locked down. Both bands, super professional. We all kind of came with knowing what we needed to do. We could have walked on stage as soon as we got there. So it was just a matter of tightening things up and getting things down. It wasn't a whole day of practice required to make these shows happen. So I did get time to hang with people, but there was always something I was either just finishing up or getting ready to do. So there wasn't a moment where I just sort of could cut loose and go exploring. This is the first year in the 10 years of going to MAG, or 11 or whatever, I don't remember, that I didn't go to the market and I did not go to the arcade at all.
Wow.
I just didn't, and it would have been Saturday night, but I got laid up. But I just didn't go, and I don't care. I had an amazing weekend. It was very satisfying for me musically, and I got to see a lot of buddies. And again, it would have been great to, head to your guys' room and see Kris and see Jen and stuff. But
yeah, Tony was in there too.
Yeah, I ran into Tony quickly once in the crowd and once before his
the Power Glove on?
With Power Glove. Yeah, I got to talk to my dad a little bit. My dad sends me an email yesterday, and he's like, "Have you heard Bite Kid the musical?" This is my 72-year-old father. Okay?
Really?
And this is a Tony Dickinson joint, just so you got who doesn't know and who's listening to the show. And I was like, I'm familiar, father, with Bite Kid the musical.
I'm familiar, father.
So, but I guess he'd run into Tony. I actually had played some of Tony's stuff for him before we'd left, and then he ended up running into him. And so it's just, I don't know, he's getting his dose of this stuff. So yeah, okay. So between the music stuff, my dad came again this year for the second year. He came back. So that was happening.
That's cool.
It was really cool. It was great. I did, in fact, just because it's the topic of the hour, I did, in fact, get very, very sick 2 hours before concert time on Saturday. I had to quit rehearsal early to go to the room and die. And then was like, guys, I don't know what's happened to me, but I think I'm turning into a zombie. So they proceeded to learn my parts, just in case I just could not, I was going to pass out onto the stage. They were just making sure they'd be ready for me to not make it happen. But I sort of went back in the old green room, the one that's completely empty, and just sort of gathered my energy and tried to get it together to play with the Viking Guitar crew. The boys backstage got me a trash can, giant trash can, to put behind my amplifier with a cleanup kit, they called it, branded Danimal Prime, Dan backstage. The cleanup kit consisted of paper towels, wet naps, dry naps, everything you might need to wipe the chunk from face before stepping back onto stage if you need a barf break.
Oh God.
And so,
man.
See, you should have had it on stage because it's more metal to throw up on stage.
And then you kick the bucket afterwards.
Yeah.
Hindsight, right? Hindsight. We
throw it into the crowd. Afterwards. The bucket crowd surfs, spills all over some people in the back.
Well, there's probably some extra like electrician's plastic or something. We could have created a splash zone for the front row. And, like,
you start handing out like Gallagher tarps for the front
row. That's it.
Like,
totally
amazing.
Guys, some fun, relevant inside info. Gwar wanted to play MAGFest this year.
Holy
Are you fucking kidding me?
That would have been incredible.
How didn't that happen?
You're joking about throwing puke on the audience, but, little did you know.
There would have been a dick cannon shooting green stuff.
Yes. Semen anointage. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess it just didn't happen. Like,
it just didn't happen.
Pretty big act.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to speak for the music department or for Gwar, but I think the gist of it was just generally like they're kind of a normal band with normal booking, and they play normal venues, and they have nothing to do with video games. They're not really a MAGFest band, and we just kind of people kind of looked at that for a moment, and we're like, I don't know, maybe, maybe I don't know.
Couldn't you classify like Psycho Stick as kind of a normal band? Though.
Yeah, but they do like video game like themed songs and stuff like that too.
They do. They're just also like Gwar is sort of like another a tier beyond too.
Right.
I don't know.
I think that's a big part of it. It's not just that they're not like precisely a MAGFest band. It's also that like they are a huge national act, and like it's tough for us to line things up with bands that are not like, Grant and Danimal, and it's like, hey guys, you want to play a show? Yeah, all right, we'll give you a few bucks. Cool. Don't throw up on the audience. All right, great.
Or we'll try on the audience.
We'll try.
MAGFest is still MAGFest. We got 20,000 people. We're working with over $1 million budget, but it's still fucking MAGFest, and it's still like our people up on stage.
Yeah, whenever Nerdapalooza or Orlando Nerdfest or whatever it became, I think it was the last Nerdapalooza. They booked
They might be giants.
Yeah, they might be giants. That was like the death knell. Like that was
that's what did them in.
Yeah, that's what did them in was going big.
Yeah, me and Dom went down there for that, and we had front row seats to that. We were talking to the organizers while they were like in a panic, checking their online ticket reservation stuff, going, oh shit, are we going to have enough? And then at some point, like after the first night, like I remember one of them walking up to me and Dom, and they were just like, yep, it's dead. Nerdapalooza's over. Just like,
damn.
Shit.
Like what killed it?
They bet the farm on They Might Be Giants. They spent too much money to get They Might Be Giants, and they didn't make enough ticket sales to make up for it. So they ended up in debt, and they had to just sort of like pay off what they could, default on some debts, and like, oh well, we're out of money.
Losses, yeah.
And we were very sad in Orlando at the time. I lived in Orlando, and I went to Nerdapalooza quite often, and I was, I actually know Doug Arley. He was friends with Hex, and he arranged Nerdapalooza. I'm not sure if you know him.
Yeah,
no.
Totally.
Yeah.
How do I not know you, Jen? We've been to all the same shit. We were in like MAGWest, and I went to
Nam together.
Yeah, I was in MAGWest and Nerdapalooza. I've been to 8 or 9 MAGFests.
We were in the shit together.
We both had our legs blown off at the first Nerdapalooza.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. It was small as well, but yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. There's that's why I mentioned there's seeds of new MAGFests planted in Florida, and basically the leftovers of Nerdapalooza and Orlando Nordfest and all that stuff that's going on there. There's people down there like clamoring for some MAGFest. And,
yeah, we when I lived there for about 15 years, I was craving for something nerdy, because what we have down there is like an anime convention called MegaCon. And that's something that I would attend ever since high school, but it wasn't the same. It's not video game culture. So we are definitely craving for something there, and I'm surprised that MAGFest doesn't have anything there yet. So I'm really excited to hear that.
Don't be surprised. MAGFest is a few people overextending themselves constantly. Like, we really shouldn't be running anything more than the main event.
Well,
but
that's
we
true
are
too.
anyway.
That's fair.
Like,
Yeah, that's
we're
pretty
doing
fair
it
to say.
anyway. We want to, and like half of our shit's a wreck, but we keep going anyway. So yeah, I don't know. We'll get to it. Hopefully,
Right.
we keep expanding and there's more MAGFest events around. But like we got to do it without killing ourselves. We got to do it without destroying the event. Otherwise, well, we are in Nerdapalooza, and yeah,
it'll be interesting to see
there.
because this it'll be interesting to see because this was the first the pre-MAGFest panic was much more palpable this year with people's ability to go and the hotel stuff, everything else. Like now it's very, and so same here. I probably could have found a floor, but if I hadn't have been playing, my chances of going would have been slim because my brother and I both did we waited in the lottery waiting for a room to get for my father, but we didn't get, neither of us got it. So, it'll be interesting to see what other events, Maggie things people will be attending this year. It'll be cool to see what the uptick in West attendance will be because of people not wanting to bother and deciding to go out here anyway instead.
I literally felt like I won the lottery when I got the room.
You did, man.
You actually did. You won.
Yeah.
Thank God for you, man.
Yeah. Chris wasn't even
takes
planning
skill.
on getting in the lottery room to begin with because I was waiting in the line and he's like, oh, well, I won't have to worry about that. And I told him, like, no, get in it
Right.
because whoever gets in first can book the room just in case, like, I don't get in right away, which I didn't. I was over an hour until my spot in line was finally there. You were in within like 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, dude, I was like right in. I was right in.
And so many people hate you for that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe. Well, because like I don't know, like it was hard enough. Like the past 2 big ones I missed just because of things with the band and just my schedule and just like I can't get the time off. And I think it was halfway through it was right before they announced the rooms. Or what that they had the day that you had to actually try and queue up for the rooms. I got an email from my manager like the week before. She was like, "Do you have any dates?" And I was like, "Here you go. It's this one right here. Like that's all I want. Give me these." Like, and I gave them the whole pretty much the whole weekend for MAGFest. I gave like from Tuesday to Tuesday. I'm like, give me nothing from those days. And as soon as she gave me the go ahead, and then like 2 days later, it was the thing for the rooms, and then I hopped in, we got it, and I was like, wow, all right, I love it when a plane comes together. So, and then Ryberg asked me to do the Jam Space thing like 4 weeks ago, like 3-4 weeks ago.
Oh,
and as soon as he asked me, like,
plenty of notice in MAGFest terms. That's,
yeah, exactly. Well, like Grant, you'll appreciate this. As soon as like he calls me up and he was like, hey, who was it? Was it Breno Floss? Breno Floss was supposed to play, and then I guess he got like double booked. Like he had another gig that was booked at the same time, like somewhere in Mag Island, essentially, one of those other places across the street. And so he ended up doing that, and then he asked me, or Ryberg asked me to take the spot. So naturally, I'm just like, all right, yeah, of course. And then as soon as I said yes, like 5 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute, I just reformatted my computer. I don't have any of my stems from any of my previous shit. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna play? So that was essentially why the medley was born. Because I had so many gigs with the Benders too. Like I was out in Vermont. I had like a ton of I was up in Florida. So it was a bunch of traveling. I couldn't just like sit at home and try and whip something together new. So,
man, that is crazy.
I got something for you guys that'll be good entertainment on the hotel thing. We obviously we put a lot of work into it, and we get a lot of people screaming about it on social media.
Of course.
And the problem when it comes down to it is there just is no good solution no matter what. We're trying to jam 20 pounds worth of people into a 10-pound box, and like at some point you got to do something. And what we set up is essentially a first come first serve system where like you got to get on the site and the first people to get on there get it. But these days with the internet and nerds on the internet that are paying attention, a first come first serve turns into a lottery because everybody jumps on it at the same time, and like that's that. It's just effectively it's a lottery.
Yeah.
So And then we get the people on social media who are like, and of course I'm officially president of MAGFest. I'm a member of the board.
So all the shit just travels up to you.
Right, but then I see things that are like somebody complaining on social media that like, oh, MAGFest is sold out. They don't give a shit. The board members are lining their pockets and charging more money for this shit, and like that stuff honestly doesn't even upset me. I just have to laugh at that.
Yeah, I was gonna say at that point, it's like for the couple of times that I've been there, yeah, like missing the past two, like the 3 years ago to now, I feel like the price hasn't changed. At least significantly, other than the fact that I technically paid slightly more for a ticket for a T-shirt version. I didn't pick up my T-shirt because I'm a dumbass. But
proud of you.
I didn't pick one either.
Dude, all right, yeah, all right.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't even think about grabbing it for the end of the weekend. But yeah, like it price wise, no, that's just them being idiots. That's just dumb.
Right.
And like you said, there really is, like, I started thinking about it too, because we were slightly like ticked off at the way that like things were going, but we got a room and then we just calmed down and thought about it, and we're just like, what can they do? Like, there really isn't anything that you can do. Like,
right. In the end, like, people get pissed off not because of the trouble they had getting a room, but because of the getting a room or not. Like, the people that got a room are never pissed. They're like, oh, yeah, it sucked, but, I got a room, and what can you do? It's the people that didn't get a room that are pissed. So no matter what you do, whether it's a lottery or it's seniority-based or it's alphabetical, like, I don't care. However you're letting people into rooms, somebody's going to be pissed off.
Right.
I still think the only seniority that should matter, aside from staff, are the lumberjacks. Like, I've been to 16 of 16. I don't want my streak to end because the lottery just wasn't in my favor to get a room. That would suck to lose my, I've been to every single one. It would suck to miss one just because of a room.
Yeah, and I think I talked to you at MAGFest about this, as I talked to a few people, and I think you were one of them. One of the reasons we haven't done that is because we can't handle a lot of these solutions that people suggest because we just don't have the technical ability or the man hours to do it.
Can you just whisper to me in private when the next MAGFest is so I could try booking now?
It's gonna be right after New Year's, about a year from now.
What?
I know, mind-blowing exclusive info.
Wow, that is a hot scoop.
You heard it here first.
So you're saying it's going to be in January 2019?
Yeah, almost definitely. Like,
no shit.
Like, real soon after New Year's.
That's a good time for it. Yeah. It's a great time for it.
But now, one of the things that we did is we just hired a programmer full-time to just work on our software, and the point is to level up the software. Like, for everybody who doesn't know, there's a database software that we call the Uber system that runs MAGFest. And originally it was just our registration, and that was 12 years ago when you couldn't just go online and, use Ticketmaster or whatever. So we rolled our own, and it's expanded and expanded. So everything, event scheduling, staff hours, staff hotel rooms, budgeting, whatever, everything is handled through this system. But the problem is it was designed to run a MAGFest, meaning a single MAGFest.
Yeah.
So every time we do it, we got to kill the system and start up a new one for the new year.
Yeah.
And rebuilding that system to be persistent over the years and handle multiple events is just a huge software engineering project. But we're doing it. We're doing it right now. So
that's cool.
As of this year, hopefully we will be able to implement things like maybe some seniority for lumberjacks.
That would be amazing.
I'm making you no promises, but the doors are going to be opening for that.
I think an easy pass for 13 people isn't asking too much.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you on that. We just have to,
I can understand people who are like, oh, I've been here for 6 events. I should have first dibs. No, you're nothing.
And what you have to understand is, I agree with you on the lumberjack thing, but you guys are one pebble in an entire dump truck full of gravel and loose rocks that gets dumped on our heads, and we have to we can't deal with the pebbles, we cannot.
We're just one turd in the sewage tank.
There's just so much. It's so overwhelming. there's so many things that I want to just be like, oh yeah, sure, that's great, I'll solve that for you. But
yeah, and that Uber system, like, it definitely, like, depending on what you throw at it, like, I remember even just doing some of the Rock Island stuff, like, it all depends, like, especially with how big you guys have gotten, like, I can only imagine, like, when everybody's trying to go in, because that's all you're, like, I'm assuming you have to, like, host all your server-side stuff yourself. Like,
oh yeah, no, dude, you should see the craziness we do for servers. We had a server rack on site that,
man.
like, I can't even begin to talk about. I don't even have the technical know-how to explain it to you. Like, I know how to set up a home network. I know how to configure a Linksys router. That's about where my tech knowledge ends.
Yeah,
but these guys have like triple redundant craziness where, like, if the internet connection goes down or the local server goes down or basically anything goes down, it's transparent, and like our registration system keeps working without the people that are working registration even noticing. It happened like 2 years ago. We lost internet and nobody even noticed. We just kept registering people because the on-site system failed over perfectly, and it was great. So there's already a ton of work going into it with a ton of brilliant people doing amazing things. But
it's always the unsung heroes that always, like, keep everything together, and then nobody ever necessarily even knows, like, the scale of everything that they're doing for it.
Right. And that's like I said, that's why I have to just laugh when I see people on, Twitter or whatever bitching about how MAGFest doesn't give a shit and they're just lining your pockets and whatever. And it's just like,
so what model Tesla do you have?
It's just, dude,
the truck. He's got the semi that they just.
I have all of them. I just, like, they bore me now.
I've got the Tesla Tercel in '94.
Yeah. I wish, dude. I drive $1,000 cars. Like,
same.
Like, I've got 2 cars, and I'm letting a roommate borrow one, and it died in the middle of Baltimore on the way back from MAGFest. He had to get a tow truck. That's how large I'm living. All right, my car can't even make it back from MAGFest.
I hope you just made him cover his own tow truck too.
Yeah,
that's what AAA's for, right?
Hey, Paul, it broke down.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
fucking take care.
Weren't expecting that.
I'm amazed it made it that far.
Ask a question?
Yeah. What's up?
For you, how about moving the event? Is that a possibility? I mean, when I was upset that I didn't get a room, that's what kind of struck me, was that, at least from my perspective and what a lot of my friends' perspective was, that MAGFest was unwilling to move, and that they only won in that location because they all live there. And of course it's growing, but if a business is growing, don't you think that you should expand it in another location? I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that's a conversation that we started having years ago because we knew this was going to be coming. And for a variety of reasons, it would be very difficult for us to move to a convention center. And the only thing bigger than the Gaylord anywhere is a convention center. We can move to the DC Convention Center, the Baltimore Convention Center. We could go down to Atlanta if we wanted and do it where, Dragon Con does their thing. But Dragon Con is split over, 4 different hotels? Like, they're all over downtown Atlanta.
Oh, that's a mess.
And this was, honestly, I'll give you a little anecdote. It was when me and Dom were at the last Nerdapalooza. We looked around, we checked out some bands, and we found ourselves just sitting in a hallway, and we're like looking at our watches or whatever, and like, I don't really want to do anything here until the next band I care about plays in 2 hours. I've already checked out all the games and vendors. Like, what are we doing with ourselves? And we just kind of had this realization at that moment. We were like, you know what? This is what MAGFest looks like if it's not actually in a hotel. Like, this is what happens if we do MAGFest in a convention center. If it's not home, if you can't just, like, go up an elevator to get back to your bed, then you're just sitting in this convention center stuck wondering what the hell to do with yourself.
Yeah, you can't go to a room party in a convention center.
That's very true. Yeah.
And that was like the intangible feel aspect of it. There's also a lot of, like, just very straightforward aspects where, like, especially in the DC Convention Center, it's a union shop. And for instance, all of our arcade machines are brought by private collectors. They know how to move they're very heavy, very specialized, very lovingly cared for machines. But you go to a convention center and they're like, no, we're all union labor. You're not allowed to move your own shit. And then you get a bunch of union guys hauling your shit around and knocking it over.
Yeah.
Right. And then
even just like maintenance for that, like all the repairs that you would have to go through with all the machines and stuff from just misuse and mishandling is, yeah.
Right. And
I can see that.
And you have to pay a lot of extra money for that. Like, you got to pay the union tens of thousands of dollars to move this stuff around.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
Yeah, fuck that.
You also you also lose the 24 hours aspect. Like
that's what I was about to say.
I think Big Adam was saying that during open ceremonies as well. He was just asking everyone, who here wants to see MAGFest not be 24 hours? No one raised their hand, and he said, that's why we're still at the Gaylord.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not out of the question. Like, you can do 24 hours at a convention center, but again, it's like insane complications. We ran into that.
Fee, yeah, because you've got to cover your ass for so many different things, even just for like, even just insurances. Like, now you're covering like into the next day. Like, that's however many extra hours. Like, yeah, fuck that.
We ran into that with MAGWest. The first MAGWest was in the Santa Clara Hyatt, I think, which is attached to the Santa Clara Convention Center. And they get this weird business arrangement where the hotel and the convention center kind of share space and kind of share business, but you have to go through the different entities to get things done sometimes. And we ended up going, I think it was about $25,000 over budget for MAGWest Year 1. And a significant chunk of that was unexpected expenses that came from the convention center. And that's the kind of stuff you run into when you're running 24 hours. And that was a little 1,000-person event. If we were dealing with that kind of stuff for Super MAGFest, like, suddenly we have to double our badge prices to get into a convention center to have a worse event overall. Yep. And like, we've gone over it many times. We've had the conversation a lot of times, a lot of different ways, looked at a lot of different things, and it's just not worth it. And that's why like I said, we're trying to expand sideways rather than vertically. Like, rather than jamming more and more people into MAGFest, we're trying to offer more MAGFest events. So we've got like Mag Labs, MAGWest, all the little stuff that we do in like Baltimore and DC and whatever, and we're just trying to expand that as much as we can and still put on decent events that maintain the soul of MAGFest as much as we can, so that it still feels like home as much as we can pull that off anyway. Yeah. And moving to a convention center, just like it's not 100% out of the question, but it just raises so many problems.
I don't think I would want to go in a convention center. The whole analogy of being home is such a fitting way to put it, because, you know, if I'm laying in bed and I can't sleep because William Reyes is snoring like crazy at 4 a.m, and I can't figure out what to do at MAGFest, I could just go down and play Rock Band at 5 a.m. I don't have to worry about, you know, all of the snoring.
Fuck you.
5 a.m. 5 a.m. Ghost of Tradition.
That's what he would do too.
Yeah.
5 a.m. Ghost of Tradition.
Ghost of Tradition.
I've experienced that. I went to plenty of conventions in Orlando, and that's the same thing that I went through. I just kind of like stayed in the hallway, and I'm like, okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, at a convention center, if you're back in your hotel room, you gotta, you know, get dressed, call an Uber, or figure out where you park to get over there.
Yeah. So, nope, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question fully.
Thank you for that. And I will tell friends that were all pissed that they didn't get a room.
Yeah.
You know what I would also suggest, honestly? I think what gave me better perspective on how difficult it is and how complex it is, and to really keep something like MAGFest together, is tell all these people to volunteer for 1 year. Doing anything.
I always do. No, dude, my response to legitimate complaints, when somebody actually, like when somebody bitches on Facebook about how the board is getting rich scamming hotel rooms or whatever, I just laugh. But when somebody legitimately complains, when somebody comes up and is like, man, why don't you guys just do this simple thing? Like, it's really obvious. Like, why don't you do it? I'm like, you're hired. Do it. Like, bring it. Like, if it's that simple, like, you are welcome. Please do. This is how MAGFest is built. And like, I can say that sarcastically and be like, yeah, fuck you, guy. Come do it yourself. But
You could also be serious that if he's like, okay, I will.
Right. It's
you can give him that job.
genuine. It's honestly genuine. It is very sincere, and like I try to avoid just kind of sarcastically going, "Yeah, fuck you. Why don't you fix the problem?"
Well, no, but that's a good way of looking at it, because even from my perspective too, like I've only 4 years ago, Joe, you introduced me to MAGFest, I think. So I'm still relatively like new to the MAGFest scene. But the first year that I went, I sat at Grant's table and sold CDs the whole time. And then Steph came to me afterwards and was just like, "Hey, you look like you really know like your shit about selling merchandise when it comes to like bands and promoting that kind of stuff." And I had this just bigger thing about with what became Rock Island. And I helped her put that together for like, for the labs and everything like that. And now I was so happy to be able to walk in after being gone for 2 years, feeling slightly like, I felt kind of guilty that I wasn't helping, but to be able to go up and be like, this is exactly what I envisioned when I like talked about it. And to be able to see it come to fruition, even though I didn't have like a direct like hand in making it what it is now for the past like year or two. It's great having that feeling of being like, yeah, there's that thing that I knew that they could do, and now they're doing it. Like,
yeah, that's
goes
awesome.
to fruition.
Yeah, man. Like it's cool. It's really.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
But
I'm really happy about
feeling.
Rock Island. I'm really happy to see that manifested and actually running well. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool because I was telling them, like, I came up the escalator because I didn't know originally that was the location that I had thought about, because then you're coming up and you just see this giant thing of like, and like the way that it was actually like laid out to see everybody else's merch, and it looked like a big to do, so it made people go like, oh, what's this thing? So it's awesome. It's really, really cool, and it's that little bit of like, I guess it just makes it more personable. Like, MAGFest was always the thing for me that, like, my only other convention that I went to was PAX East. And comparing MAGFest to PAX East, like, it's no contest. MAGFest feels like family. Like, it feels like I could walk into any room and chat up anybody that's in there, and I'm going to feel comfortable. Because everybody awesome. Just has this, like, underlying camaraderie aspect. Whereas you go into all these other kind of like bigger events and it's just like, fuck you, you're on your own. Like,
yeah, no, and that's exactly why, like I just explained about our expansion and why we want to stay in the Gaylord, and a lot of other things. We've always been focused on that. We've always been trying to do that. And like the first MAGWest, the point of the first MAGWest was just to go out the West Coast and sort of plant a flag. Be like, all right, MAGFest is here. This is what we're doing. We're seeding the place so that the local communities can build their thing. And we don't even know exactly what the MAGFest identity is. We all sort of feel it, but we can't exactly write it down. We just have to go out there and be like, yeah, this is what MAGFest is about. And at the end of MAGWest, there was a couple of kids, they were like local college kids or whatever, and they were hanging out with us, and they had that post-MAGFest euphoria on their faces that we all recognize, right? You know it. And I talked to them, and they were like, yeah, we've been to a bunch of conventions around here, Comic Cons and Anime Cons and whatever, and we always kind of feel like we're consumers. We're just there to buy what they're selling. Mm-hmm. And at MAGWest... It's
so true. It's so true, yes.
We felt like we were a part of it. Like, we felt like we were involved and included, and, like, we're super excited, and we just, like, we want to be a part of this MAGFest family. So that was it.
MAGFest is the Olive Garden of conventions.
I think the word that really pulls it in is inclusion, though. Like every of those other big events, it's just like you said, you feel like just a tiny little, a tiny bug crawling through like a little area that everybody just kind of ratted out for you. Whereas MAGFest is just like, it's a home. Like, it's just everybody that's there. I don't care if you've never met them before in your life. You could sit and have like a 2-3 hour conversation with them, because it's just the types of people that it brings in.
Yeah.
Fuck, what about the fact with that hardcore championship belt where people just showed up to our room?
That was fucking awesome.
to challenge for it.
Incredible. Fucking incredible. Like, you can't have experiences like that anywhere else.
For people who don't know, the MAGFest the hardcore championship belt at MAGFest is a take on the old WWF hardcore championship, where it was up for grabs any day, anytime, 24 hours. And it was the same way with MAGFest. If you saw someone carrying that belt around, you could challenge them to any game immediately, and they have to accept. And if you beat them, you're the new champion, and then people could challenge you anytime. Like I challenged someone. Yeah, I challenged someone right after opening ceremonies to Tetris, and I beat him because it's Tetris, and I always win at Tetris. And then, Chris, you challenged me at Rocket League because I'm awful at Rocket League, and you knew you would easily wreck me.
I knew I would easily win.
And then
that was a layup.
And then I ended up leaving, but you guys filled me in on the story. What happened there?
So we're sitting in the room. Now, granted, every time that the title changes hands, you have to fill out this thing, which I liked as well, because then it kind of like gave you this like written record of like, well, this happened and this happened and this happened.
Keeps it legit.
And you have to write. You have to write where the title exchanged hands. So because he invited this other dude up to our room to play Tetris, and then I promptly challenged him, both of them were set at the same room number, and we put the room number on it. So this group of 3 guys comes up and just knocks on the door. Like, we're just sitting there chilling. I was about to go downstairs to like the arcade or something. And we just hear a knock on the door. I open it up, and there's just 3 dudes like blasting music. They're just like, "Where's the title?" They're like, "Oh shit! All right, yeah. What are we doing?" And they were like, "We're gonna do a breakdance like dance off." And I'm like, "You fucking win, man." I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
All right. Did you try?
Fuck no. No. But
you should have tried.
You should.
I was kind of disappointed. You should have tried.
Afterwards, hindsight's 20/20. I went to William and I was like, "Dude, I should have just busted out a fucking Macarena or something dumb." Like,
did you ask William what he would have challenged someone to? I'll ask him. William, what would you challenge someone to for the belt?
Sucking Joe's dick.
That's a good event. I kind of like that one.
That was good. That was perfect.
Yeah. No, I gotta talk to Bulldozer next year and get a camera to go with the belt. That's what's missing.
Nice.
So that's sick.
It already has a GPS, which is ridiculous.
Right, and just like
ridiculous or genius.
Just
it is genius. It is
or something with it. Just like send a GoPro with it and be like, okay, when there's a challenge, you got to hit record. Somebody's got to stand there and hold it, and then have like a video record of the entire history of the belt.
Give it its own Twitch stream.
Or no, you can do like just a periscope.
Videos,
do like a periscope. Just do like have like a battery backup and have someone like following it around. People can tune in.
Just get a new staffer where all they do all weekend is just follow the belt around.
You are the MAGFest Hardcore Championship holder.
It's like they're sleeping on the dude's floor. Like, hey, just let me know when you wake up. Gotta follow you. I'm gonna follow you in the shower just in case someone challenges you in there.
I think you just volunteered for that job.
I just love that. Like, I didn't know that was going on. I went to one panel just because it had something to do with what I was doing. Like, the board game room didn't see it. Didn't go to the LAN room. Didn't go to the arcade. Didn't go to the market. And had the most packed mag ever. It's like all these other people went to a completely different MAGFest than I did, which is completely different than someone else and what they did all weekend. You know, you get last year I caught a guy in a Gears of War cosplay. He was in the bathroom, taking a break. Had his helmet off. Just washed his hands, you know. He was taking a break. And splashing water on his face, you know, he just looked at himself in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? He just looked at himself. He's nodded. You know what I mean? And he wiped his face off. He put that fucking helmet back on. Went right back out to the lobby. You know what I'm saying? Like,
let's do this shit.
He is there. That is his mag.
He used the restroom for literal resting.
Oh, he did. He did. He had to take a breather. I mean, you can only do this for so long. They're like my favorite cosplayers I see every year. Food Pyramid Head is always there. Have you guys
God,
seen Food Pyramid Head?
Yeah.
It's just a classic. Like,
the giant Snorlax this year was my favorite.
Yeah, I feel like he was even bigger than usual.
Did you guys all see the Ivy from Soul Calibur with the boobs?
No.
There was a Soul Calibur Ivy with balloon boobs. Like she had these gigantic She had these gigantic balloons as boobs, and like pictures of her are going around, and it's hilarious. It's so good.
I need to find a picture of that. But speaking of cosplay, I'm going with cosplay instead of boobs. Jen, what did you dress up as? Because you cosplayed every night, didn't you?
I tried, yes. It was a little overwhelming. I don't think I'll ever do that again. Next time I'll just stick with one. But I did Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII, and then I did Ann from Persona 5. I did her high school uniform, and then I did her Phantom Thief cosplay. So, yeah, I'm not going to do that again, but it was the first time where I went to MAGFest, and I was like, I'm going to focus on cosplay this year. And
where did you go? What did you do when you were like? Did you just sort of hang out, or did you go into any events or anything? I wonder what like if it's just a matter of heading to the lobby, or if you're like if you have an agenda.
Well, this year was the first one where I just kind of laid back. I didn't have an agenda. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't really do any of it. I just wanted to go there to see my friends and hang out, drink, do fun, just laugh, do funny stuff. I went to the arcade maybe once or twice, if I remember, and that's because Kris wanted to do like this drum challenge.
The world's fastest drummer.
Yeah, and I'm just like, sure, I'll go. And
I need to buy one of those now.
Yeah, it's an awesome machine, but
$7,000, right, Joe?
Yep.
It's probably because since it's so big and I know people, but I don't really know that many people. Like I'm not a musician of any kind. I'm not performing at. Oh God, I'm not performing at MAGFest. I'm not like this highlight. I'm just there to hang out people because a lot of my friends live in the area. So for me, MAGFest is like what you guys were saying, or I think Kris was saying that it feels more like family. I've done conventions where it's like anime conventions. I've done little video game conventions. It just doesn't feel the same. And that's why I spent all my money to go to MAGFest. I've been to 8. I'm not like Joe. I haven't been to all 16, but
you scrub.
I've been to
I'm a true scrub here.
You get good, noob.
Yeah, this was pretty laid back for me. This was the first MAGFest 2 that I had different kind of roommates. Everyone had a different personality, and it wasn't OC Remix related because I'm from the OC Remix crowd. That was cool, and it made me realize that I need to expand. I need to make new friends too.
How were the roommates different? Literally everybody but me was a musician in that room.
Well, because you guys aren't from OC Remix, and I'm not just focused on OC Remix. And I love those guys. I've been a part of the site since 2001, but I do need to stop being so damn introverted. Right. And so this year, I kind of want to focus on that and like on myself. It kind of made me realize some things within myself. So not to talk too personal, but that was my MAGFest.
Cool.
Aside from cosplay, I did take some pictures, but I don't do cosplay for the fame of it or take pictures or anything like that. I just do it for fun, and it makes me feel really good because I can relate to certain characters. And I feel like I can express myself through it. So there you have it.
Do you want to guess? Do you want to take a guess, Jen? How many characters from Nier were there this year? Do you want to say like maybe like 300? Maybe I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like how many?
I was sad. I was expecting more Persona 5 people, but yeah, I'm not on board with that. At least not yet.
I heard something about someone. There's someone dressing as the menus from Persona. Is this
wait? What?
Are you familiar with this?
I must have missed it. I'm so sad. Like,
I didn't see it.
I was just in the room the whole time chatting and having a good time.
That would have been amazing to see.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looked like. I didn't see it. Someone just said people were dressed as menus, which makes sense.
The menus look incredible in the game. I don't know if you've ever played it.
Yeah. Oh, they're insane.
The art design is beautiful. So I would be in a menu too if I had thought outside of the box. But I do really like Ann, and I wanted to do her cosplay. She has way more costumes than the 2 that I did, so I may do the other ones too. I don't know.
Maybe next year I'll unretire and bring back retired Zangief.
Yo, you need to.
That's awesome. I would love to see that in person.
Yeah, you should do that again.
Why didn't you do it this year?
Because I only ever did it really the 1 year.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
That was like my one and done.
I'm a fan.
If I'm ever going to cosplay, it's got to be the dumbest, laziest thing possible. So that involved shaving my balding head into a balding mohawk, which I don't even know if I could grow that much anymore.
We can get you a wig.
Putting on a pink robe and Angry Bird slippers and carrying around a sign that says, "We'll bear hug for money."
I think I did see that. I was that like 3 or 4 years ago?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think I did see you in the hallway like that. But that was a long time ago. I don't really.
Yeah, I look kind of pretty goddamn amazing.
I liked it a lot.
I honestly don't think I could grow that much hair back. I don't. And I had like nothing then.
Listen, I'll even if you don't want to talk to Tim, I'll talk to Tim. We'll get you a wig. He works for a wig company.
If anything, I'll just grow my beard out and then shave the beard and put it on my head in a mohawk.
It doesn't work like that.
Why not?
Sure it does.
No.
That's what duct tape is for.
Listen, as your friend, I just need to intervene here. I'm not going to let you do that.
I'm going to encourage him.
If I dress up like that, do I get a golden ticket?
What's
probably.
your golden ticket? I'm really intrigued.
I know Charles got a golden ticket.
Did he?
Yeah,
well,
way back when for
yes.
the X-Men.
He was the did you, not to get all fucking somber, but did you guys see the dedication?
I did. It was beautiful to see. Every time I walked past the arcade machine, I would like fist bump a picture of Charles. So I teared up once or twice walking by there. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I miss him.
For the quick version of the story for anybody listening who doesn't know, the Colossus roar at MAGFest came from the machine itself. There's a lot of people that take credit for it, but it's just the fact that MAGFest used to be small, and the sound of Colossus's mutant power coming out of that gigantic 6-player machine cut through everything in the arcade and the marketplace and everything. So all weekend long, it was just worming its way into your subconscious, and it eventually became a MAGFest battle cry.
And it won't go the fuck away.
Right? And the reason that machine was there was because Charles Margolis picked up the machine, and he had it like in his living room in a townhouse, and it took up most of the living room. And he talked to Brendan and was just like, okay, do you want this machine? I'll just give it to you. I just want a lifetime badge to MAGFest. And they were like, all right, done deal. And I remember I went with Brendan to his townhouse and hauled that thing out of there and stuck it in a truck. And that was like the first arcade machine that MAGFest owned. And it's been with us ever since. And Charles, unfortunately, has been dealing with brain cancer for the last 3 years, I guess.
Something like that.
And
last year, he couldn't fight anymore, and we lost him.
Yeah, it finally happened months ago, and so we had a dedication and everything, and there's a little plaque on the machine or whatever, and people are torn about the Colossus roar. A lot of people hate it because it's gotten old, and I was always sort of like, I can see it, like, I understand why people are upset with it or whatever, but I still enjoy it a little here and there in the right place. After the dedication to Charles and all that, I'm just like, man, screw you people. Get used to it. It's never going away. It's never dying. Yeah. It is the MAGFest battle cry. It's now taken on another meaning. It's a fucking...
It's only gotten stronger.
Right. It's a battle cry for our fallen brothers along the way. Like, it's not even just like a random thing you yell. Now it's a memory for people that brought it to us and can't be there anymore. So now I'm just like, man, that's the soul of MAGFest right there. You can hate all you want. It's not going anywhere.
It's at PAX. It happens at PAX. It's everywhere. Yeah. It's like it's just rippled out across the convention community. So
well, that was also partially deliberate. Like 4 or 5 years ago, when people were starting to get sick of it, me and a few people were making the point. Like me and Big Adam and whoever were going around telling people, all right, look, at MAGFest, stop doing the Colossus roar. It's done. Just do it at other events. Like when you go to PAX or Otakon or whatever, do it there, and you can recognize MAGFest people by that.
Didn't Adam say that at opening ceremonies again this year?
Yeah, I think
just do it elsewhere.
So. Yeah,
I like that idea.
I didn't hear it that much this weekend. Honestly, I think I only heard probably like 8.
You're just counting them now.
That's so not specific. That much.
Well, because you know what? Because in a way, I was almost like, I wanted to see how many were going to organically form around me without me like instigating.
Yeah.
Because I was curious.
I don't even
started one in years. I participate when they go by, but
I don't notice them anymore. It's like hearing seagulls at the beach.
That's the tinnitus, Grant. That's the tinnitus blocking it out.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
My favorite. I may have to get the audio clip for the show, Joe, because I have it. But it was a Mag Labs several years ago, and it was arm cannon. And Mike encouraged everyone to do it backwards. He's like, "You guys ever try to do it back? Just oh, oh," and got people.
You said you have the audio clip?
I do. Praise be unto you, Mike Willard. This is going to go on the air.
You need to get that to me.
Dude, that was so funny.
That was the show. That was the show where they introduced every song of Super Mario Brothers. Have you guys heard this?
No.
Always like, this one goes out to the Mario Brothers, and then they play Zelda, and this is from Mario Brothers 7.
That sounds like what William did when Mustin took time away from the OneUps. William kind of took over as the on stage head of the band, I guess. He would do all the introductions, and like every single song, he was like, "This one is for the ladies."
And he did that during the Altered Beast sets. I remember too.
Fuck you.
So real.
It's like he's here.
It's like he's actually here.
Oh
well.
Oh man. Well, I know we've all been chatting for a while. Did anybody else want to cover anything else from the weekend before we wrap this up?
I had a good weekend. I hope you all enjoyed your fucking vomit and sickness.
I'm not sick.
I'm enjoying it so far.
Dude, I'm good.
I feel pretty good.
I'm not sick at all.
Nope,
Good.
we're good.
Good. Fantastic.
I can talk about MAGFest for literally years.
Any comments, Paul, about the DeCola experience? Was it cool seeing DeCola?
Dude, you have
Mag
no
finally?
idea. Like, every MAGFest provides me with at least one like MAGFest moment that's a memory that will never go away. And I was excited for Dare because I love the Transformers soundtrack, but when in the middle of Lonely Rolling Stars, they brought the kids out to throw balls into the audience.
Yeah, Lonely Rolling Kids.
That was it. That did me in. I was crying. That was amazing. I will never forget that. Like, Norg's kid is so comfortable up on the stage. She was so happy to be there.
Yeah. We
Kira's the best.
We had
such a rock star.
They'd blown up all these beach balls, but they didn't know what to do with them. And we were like, it was me and Erin was, but luckily able to be back there for a little bit. And she's the teacher. She can control large groups of small people very easily. So we were like, what if we just took them? I had to go out on stage to get everyone sick anyway. So I was like, why don't we just take all the kids? Let's take all the kids out and throw the balls. And so we ended up figuring it out. And then so there's Kira and there's Hope, George's little girl.
Yeah.
She was a little apprehensive, but after the set was over, and the show was over, she's standing at the edge of the ramp, like looking at us, like wanting to she's got the stage. She had her first taste of the stage. You know what I mean? She like wanted to like run back out again for the next band, which was very cool.
That's awesome.
And then Donovan and Jensen, Sean's kids.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, I have some great shots from behind of Jensen and Kira standing up there, just sort of standing there staring at people rocking out. It was very cute.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
They were perfectly happy to just be hanging out there. They had nothing to do. They ran out of balls. They were just standing there and they were just like bouncing around. They're like, all right, cool.
You never got me backstage, now. Grant. I'm pissed. You said you were going to get me back there. I never got to meet Vince. I'm bummed.
Oh, he will. According to him, he'll be back. So
I hope so. Did all the new guests this year seem to enjoy themselves, Paul?
As far as I know, like I said, I hung out with Freddie a little bit, and I'm hearing nothing but insane glowing from the direction of Vince DeCola. That guy was a huge hit with anybody that hung out with him.
Yeah, we after the show, he just sort of vaporized. Like we literally, because I wanted to take you back there, Joe, and Danimal, and like because to say hey, and then we went looking for him. And he just disappeared. I think he was like in post-show decompression and just sort of took off.
He's a ninja.
But then he's a ninja. And then later on, he was just around. Like he just sort of, he was just, he was thankful and had to get gear together and everything. But he apparently had a fantastic time, and all the stars worked super hard to prepare for what they did. And it worked.
I still can't believe the story he told on stage that he almost didn't make it to MAGFest.
Yeah, he had a heart attack.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Like, yeah, that's insane.
a week and a half before the show. And the doc cleared him and he came. Nor let the stars know that, just for context. There was a whole thing of like, just in case something changes, can we still do his music? All that. And so super important show for him and everybody.
And he fucking rocked it.
That was intense.
Dude, he was incredible. Yeah. He was amazing. I really, honestly, I wish you guys could have seen him go off in Jam Space, because holy shit. Like, he was awesome.
There's video.
Yeah.
There's video somewhere. I don't know where, but there's video.
I think Danimal posted like a picture, and then like in the comment section, people started like tossing some in there from what I remember. So
Joe, you had a Ro on? I forgot his last name. Pagundi? I can't remember.
Panugati, something like that.
He played bass in that jam, actually.
He was fucking there, and I didn't get to see him either.
Yeah, I didn't see him at all. And then Patrick
Kulikowski
on drums. It was a nice little posse jamming with Vince. So, yep.
Damn.
I didn't see anybody.
That's awesome.
I didn't see anybody.
Yeah, it was like I was going through. I had my electronic kit set up in the corner, and I was going through my set for Saturday. And I finished through the set, and I turn around, and I'm like, "That's Vince Nicole." Like, what the fuck? Like, they had already been playing for like 5-10 minutes or so, and then I'm like, oh, holy shit, what the fuck? What the hell is happening right now? There's like nobody in here, and there's history being made on the stage. I'm like, I'm gonna walk over there and really appreciate this.
Oh man. Well, I know this show's been going on quite a while. Everyone has their nights to enjoy. So let's go around the table. What do you take away from this MAGFest, and what are you looking forward to for the future? Let's start with you, Paul.
Oh, I think I've been over that. I am very excited about MAGFest expanding across the world. We have very legitimate prospects for multiple MAGFest events popping up across this country and the entire globe. We're heading to other hemispheres, and I can't tell you how excited I am about that.
Nice. What about you, Grant?
I'm going to do less music next year, but still do music in some way, and I'm very excited about this upcoming West. So much as to say,
I'm actually surprised you didn't play more rock stuff or bring it up. You know?
I tried to find a whole rock soundboard.
It was a perfect balance.
All it was
yeah.
It's just a button. I tried to find a rock soundboard, but there's just a rock button, and it's only got that one freaking.
Hey, sample, whatever works, man.
Disappointed.
Yeah, it works.
Oh man. So hey, William.
What?
What are you looking forward to with next year's MAGFest?
Sucking Joe's dick.
Oh man, you are crazy. Is that all you have to say to us?
Fuck off.
All right. Well, Kris, how about you?
Hopefully hanging out with William again. He was a fucking riot, dude. It was my best MAGFest. It was cool because it was way more laid back and way more chill. It was literally like right when I needed it. Like, I was stressed out as a motherfucker, and then just going down there and just being able to like hang out and just play something that's not top 40s, and hear like the best collective sigh of what I've ever heard in my entire life. It was perfect. It was great. I loved it.
Nice. And Jen, how about you? Huh?
Well, for me, the past 10 months, I've been doing nothing but flying and being in school and stuff like that. And I've been traveling around the world. I mean, aside from being in a crew, I've been by myself, like focusing on myself and healing and stuff like that. So I really needed this MAGFest. And, this basically meant for me, I need to relax more and make new friends, like I mentioned like earlier. So that's what I take from this MAGFest.
And how about next one? What are you looking forward to?
For the next MAGFest?
Yeah.
If I can go to the next MAGFest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
The answer is us. Me, Kris, Grant.
I was hoping to do it all over again.
As a softball.
I was hoping to do the room arrangements again, but everyone has their own plans. I mean, I know everyone wants to do their own thing, and as they should. So I wouldn't mind doing it all over again. I'm not going to try to hope for the same experience because it should always change. But if I do go to the next MAGFest, yes, I would like to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
And I would like to hang out with you again.
Oh, and I would.
It was easy.
Like
really
sleeping with you was so easy. I think I was tougher because I kept stealing it. I kept stealing blankets. Apparently,
Joe is easy.
I am. Yeah, Jen, you seem to get a good kick out of the fact that progressively through the night, I would get less and less blankets.
I didn't know that. You should have told me. I was so embarrassed.
Gotta call that out.
Because you gave me the comforter, and I was like, why are you... Oh,
because I don't get it anyway. By the end of the night, I'm just hoping my feet are under. I was actually planning to call the housekeeper on the first day and ask for another comforter, but I was like, maybe I won't do what I do. So and then I found out the last night, and I was like, shit, I should have called the housekeeper. That's why next year I got to get Ashley to go again and put you in the middle so that no matter which way you steal the blanket from, at least one of us is covered. Or if you just pull it all to the middle, it's even easier for us to pull the blanket away.
I don't know about that. I'll probably be sleeping on the floor with a sleeping bag in that case, which I'm okay with. Sorry, don't want to be lame.
Oh, man. Well, that is it for this part of the show. We're going to take a quick break, and I will be back with more show with Cole doing the news and all that other fun stuff. This is where I would normally ask for final words to sum things up, but Grant, you're going to have that audio clip, right?
Oh, yes. I guess I have to go hunting now.
Yeah,
I'll
you do.
That. Mike Willard's version of the classic Colossus roar.
Backwards.
Backwards.
So take it away.
Do the opposite. Neutralize it.
Okay, but for real, like, what song are we playing? Is it Mario 2?
No, it's fucking... It's that song where the cats and the dogs...
Oh, Cat Dog.
Right. That one from the Mario Brothers.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks again to all of the guests for chilling and chatting MAGFest and all that good stuff. But we have plenty of more show. I can't even talk. I'm just so exhausted from MAGFest.
Words are hard.
Words. Cole Martin, you're here. How you doing?
Hi, I am here. Let's segue. I'm just going to bust in like the Kool-Aid guy. But instead of saying, oh yeah, I'm going to say, words are hard.
Words are hard. Oh yeah.
I wish my voice would go that deep. What the fuck? So we're like, words are hard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Words are hard. Oh yeah.
Was that better?
Much better.
How was your week off? Not having to put up with me.
Week off? I still didn't get to stop.
Well, the show you didn't have to record anything for a week. That was fun.
I didn't have to record. I did still have to play. But I didn't have to record.
So yeah, how was your week not doing anything?
Terrible. It was fucking cold and all the water lines burst and my van won't start.
Nice.
Everything that can go wrong because it gets into the negative degrees did.
Oh God.
So we got all of our water lines replaced. My husband had to replace every water line in our bathroom and kitchen. Every last one. And then he got it all hooked up and he turns the faucet on. We still don't have water. Because that motherfucker was frozen underground outside, 4 foot deep, and it's frozen. And you just they tell us here in Redneck Land, bury water lines 36 inches because the frost line is at 32 or 34 or some shit like that. So bury your water lines under. So the ones here, we actually rented a termite and we dug them 4 foot. Should have been fine. They were not fine. And it took 2 60-degree days before they finally thawed out. Yesterday.
Holy shit.
The water came back. It was terrible.
So it's 60 degrees there?
It did. It got up. It's funny because all last week, the high was -4. And then this week it got to 70 yesterday. And today I think it's 65 or 66 right now.
Good Lord.
And then tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 60s again, but it's supposed to rain. And then on Saturday we're getting an ice storm and it's going to be a high of 25.
Yeah, climate change is a hoax, right?
Yeah. I was sitting there this morning and I was playing a little Rocket League with my friend and I sneezed. And because of all the weather changing and stuff, I'm prone to nosebleeds and I sneezed and it just looked like a crime scene.
Yeah,
the weather changing constantly. I'm just walking around with tissue crammed in my nose. That's why I sound funny right now. I don't have tissue in my nose currently, but I have for the last 3 days.
Hey, I've been there. I've had some pretty rough winters where my nose would just get so dry that I would wake up in the middle of the night and my pillow would just be red.
Yeah, that's just it falls in line with the whole, I have an autoimmune disease and any soft tissue in my body swells, and that goes for your blood vessels too. And so the ones in your nose are already particularly close to the skin. And when I was a little kid, they actually cauterized them, but a fat lot of good that does 30 some odd years later. True. Not to give my age away or anything, but so it started in my teens. It got really bad, and then it got a little better, and then I don't know, maybe the last 7 or 8 years, it's been back to where it just pours at random for no good reason.
Always fun.
And so the weather changing makes it far worse, and I'll just be sitting there and I'll sneeze, and it legit looks like a crime scene happened. My husband doesn't even ask questions anymore. He just goes and gets hand sanitizer.
Well, that happened again, huh?
It was funny because when we first, the first time we lived together, when we moved in together and everything, and I had done it a couple times where just he'd come home from work and find me randomly covered in blood. And I'd be cleaning myself up. Yeah. And thankfully we'd already been together a while. But it was funny because one time I had baked a red velvet cake. Mm-hmm. And if you've never baked red velvet, it's basically chocolate, but it's loaded the fuck down with red food coloring. And I had that food coloring all over my hands. And he come in from work and I'm standing in the kitchen with my arms up because, I've been baking and I've got batter and food coloring all over me and stuff. And he just sees the red dripping down my hands. He's like, shit, you hurt yourself, didn't you? Let me call 911.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, he's not even shocked. He's just like, turns around, goes for the phone. I'm like, I don't need an ambulance this time.
No, I'm just baking. I'm baking, I swear. No, I don't believe you. I think you hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to play with knives or anything.
Oh, man. Well, we should probably talk about some news because over the past 2 weeks, there were some news. While I was at MAGFest, actually, I saw some posts on like Reddit and on Reset Era, whatever that site is, that there were a whole bunch of Xbox rumors that came out. Did you see any of these things?
I saw a couple, and then I saw a lot of people poo-pooing on them, so I'm not sure of their validity.
Yeah, it's always one of those things where you take everything with like a heaping, helping bag full of salt, but there were some interesting rumors there. Yeah, there were a lot of interesting rumors there, and I do want to address them because if any of these are true, it's really, really exciting. And a couple of them have actually been mentioned previously. So I don't know if this is like corroborating those rumors or what, but let's go through them. It was a post on that Reset Era site, which I forget, what was that site previously?
I wouldn't even know.
I think NeoGaf it was. And then like they rebranded because of some bullshit happened, so they rebranded. But
NeoGaf shit the bed.
Yeah, there was some shit that happened there. But someone there who has posted rumors in the past and has been known to be fairly reliable just made a post there kind of in like musings of, hey, this would be interesting, or hey, this would be neat, or hey, I hear this. Like nothing outright saying this is happening. It's just like the first one. I would love to revisit Albion. Project name could be Wisdom. A UK studio should do it. Which previously we talked about rumors of Playground Games working on a Fable reboot or Fable sequel.
Yeah.
Playground's a UK studio, and they're talking about revisiting Albion.
Now, see, I didn't hear that one, so that one's a new one to me. But I would give that one some like credibility.
Yeah, here's the next one. I would love to play around with Ms. Dark again. The Coalition should definitely help if it's a third-person game. I mean, not them alone, obviously, which is, of course, hinting towards a new Perfect Dark game. And there's been rumblings of a third-person stealth game, Perfect Dark. And if the Coalition's working on it, that's interesting.
I know I did see, that is one I had seen, not that, I saw that Coalition was working on a new IP. And then Microsoft stepped up and said, no, they're not. They're focused on Gears of War. So that one is the one that I did hear that got poo-pooed.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Coalition could always have multiple teams working on stuff. And one could be assisting another team. Yeah,
that's like Don't Nod. That did Life is Strange. They're currently working on like 3 different games. So, I mean, it's not a thing that doesn't happen.
Next one was, I would also love to play the Crackdown 3 campaign in 4-player co-op, which is a very realistic sounding desire.
I kind of just assumed that Crackdown had co-op anyway.
I did as well, but I don't know if people expected it to be 4-player campaign co-op. I think people thought that the multiplayer stuff might be completely separate from campaign, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to play Forza with the rising sun on the horizon, which there have been rumblings for a while. Everyone knows Forza Horizon 4 is happening. There have been rumblings for a while. Even the fact that Aaron Greenberg of Microsoft apparently briefly had a new Twitter background image of a bunch of Xbox press, cover arts and stuff like that. And one of the logos was of a Forza Horizon 4 with Japanese text.
Yeah.
So Forza Horizon 4 in Japan seems kind of like a sure thing at this point.
I'd play the absolute fuck out of that. So I want that one to be real.
Me too.
Yeah, I like racing games, but I don't like track racing games. Don't make me make 9,428 left turns.
Yeah.
I want to explore. And that's why I like the Forza Horizon series better, and I just skip Forza Motorsport. I know they're supposed to be incredible, but I just skip them and wait for the new Horizon every 2 years.
No.
And so I'm really like fingers crossed, because it just the one screen grab that I have seen floating around is just like fucking gorgeous. And I need that.
Well, I have zero doubts that Forza Horizon 4 is happening. Like, it's pretty much guaranteed at this point. But did you see the image floating around of Aaron Greenberg's Twitter?
No, I missed that one.
You missed it?
I know. I don't know how. I follow all the fanboys. I don't know. Oh, I have them all muted.
How could you?
I need some sanity, man.
I wonder if I could save this picture and send it to you.
I don't know. I'm not near the computer, though.
Well, then that doesn't help at all.
No, it doesn't. Number one's gone away for the weekend, and she has her laptop with her, so.
Aw, jeepers. And it's pretty much just his Twitter page, and you know the little banner image that you could have in the background?
Yeah.
It has a whole bunch of games that are Xbox titles or Xbox exclusives, or even titles that are just Xbox One enhanced. Like PUBG is there, Black Desert Online, Ori and the Blind Forest, Gears of War 4, Forza 7, Ashen, Crackdown 3, Forza Horizon 3, Sea of Thieves. And then there's interesting stuff there, like Reyes is listed there, which we haven't heard anything from Reyes in quite a while.
In a long time, yeah.
Fable is there. All these rumblings of a new Fable, and it's on that banner image.
Yeah.
Like, Sunset Overdrive is there. Could there be a possibility of a new Sunset Overdrive, which would be amazing if it was? And then Forza Horizon 4 is there as well. So again, don't know if any of this shit's real, but I am very, very intrigued.
I feel like Microsoft does an every other year rotation. Every other year they focus. One year will be, hardware centric and peripherals and accessories. And then the year after that, they really focus heavy on the games. Like, they haven't really found a way to merge, focus on two things at once. But if that kind of pattern repeats itself, last year we had the release of the One X. I fully expect this year just like E3 to put us on our asses for games.
I hope so, because they need it.
They do need it, just to make everybody shut the fuck up, if nothing else. Like, it's funny, I'm not bothered by the whole Xbox doesn't have exclusives argument. Like, it just doesn't affect me, because I look and I go, I have a backlog of 700 games. I don't have time for exclusives anyway. Fuck off. And, when your backlog is in the hundreds, you don't care if they're exclusive or not. You're not getting to it anyway.
True.
And so it's just like, don't tell me we don't have games, because I don't have time for all these games, and all I do is play games. But
yeah.
I know that that's important to some people. And I realize that from a marketing standpoint, it's unnecessary evil, even if I don't agree with exclusivity and all that. I understand.
I agree with exclusives when it's first-party games.
First party.
And that's what Microsoft needs.
And I can see where they really need to put their mark on the world in that department. I'm fine with it, but I'm also fine with it not being a necessary thing at all. Like, if somebody was like, you know what, we've decided that first party games violates antitrust laws, I'd be like, good, and shrug and be done.
All I care about is having more games to play.
As long as there's something there to play, I don't give a fuck where it comes from.
Oh, man. Anyway, next rumor that was there was, I would love to play Age of Empires 4 soon, but it's probably super early. So, possible new Age of Empires coming. Who knows if it'll be on console or if it'll be a PC only kind of thing, but I'm intrigued.
I do know that Justin Roby, if you follow him on Twitter, also he streams with the Morning Mixer on weekday mornings. And he is working on the Xbox team with Age of Empires. But that is just, he keeps saying definitive edition, but he says that he's on the Age of Empires team. So
yeah, I know they announced the
team and they are doing things, and that seems like, it seems to me, if Microsoft is willing to go through the effort to create this definitive edition and beef this game back up and do all this work, it's because they want to put money into that franchise, and they're testing the water.
Yeah, I have no doubt that we'll see more.
Surprised. I've also never played it, so I don't know shit about it beyond just I know the name.
Let's see. You know. He says, I would love to have a really high player count connections per session for Xbox's biggest franchise, which seems to go with the rumors we've had lately of the next Halo game featuring some form of battle royale mode.
At this point, I feel like every game's featuring a battle royale mode. I got choked.
Getting choked up over that news?
I did. Woo! No, I don't even play Halo that actively.
I think
another case where like I have the whole series and I've played like 2 of them.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to see a Halo battle royale, like everyone dropping in the same or in their own drop pods and trying to see who could survive the long. I don't know. It could be really cool.
I mean, Halo was already didn't it have ground war, and it was like is it 12 versus 12 or whatever?
Oh yeah, for big team
so,
battle.
I mean, yeah, that's it. And it was called Ground War on Call of Duty, sorry. But it doesn't seem like a far-fetched thing that they would attach to. And I don't know. Well, I don't see why it wouldn't be a thing, especially with everybody breaking their necks over battle royale games right now.
Yeah.
Like even Van Helsing has a battle royale. So. At this point, you just go, "What doesn't?"
True. And then,
at least on Division, they called it survival. Come on, people.
And then the last substantial one there was, and I'm sure Phil likes mechs, which could be hinting at a return of the Mech Assault series.
I am not familiar with Mech Assault.
It was on the OG Xbox.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, mech battles.
We had an OG Xbox for 1 week, and David was like, yeah, I don't like this. And he sold it back on eBay. And I was just like, okay, I didn't even get to touch it, though.
Oh, boy.
But, you know, it was a thing.
It's not all Xbox news, though, because just today, a Nintendo Direct happened as well. Have you seen any of the news from that?
No, because I don't have a Nintendo, so I kind of get limited Nintendo. Like, my Nintendo information comes from the SML podcast.
Well, here's some more Nintendo news for you then. It was like a 14-minute long presentation, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it was just news, like right in a row. They started off, The World Ends With You Final Remix is hitting the Switch for its 10th anniversary and a new scenario in 2018. So the return of The World's Ends With You, which is fucking exciting.
Okay.
Puckin' Tournament DX is getting new DLC spread across 2 paid DLC packs. Wave 1 is on January 31st, Wave 2 March 23rd. In total, it'll have 2 new characters, 4 support Pokemon, new outfits, bunch of other stuff. Kirby Star Allies showed off a new video with new abilities and friend abilities, and it got a March 16th release date. Dragon Quest Builders has a demo out today on the Switch. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is hitting the Switch in the spring with all of the DLC and content from the Wii U and 3DS versions, including brand new Breath of the Wild outfits. Mario Tennis Aces is hitting the Switch and includes a full story mode with missions and boss battles releasing in the spring. Ys 8 is hitting the Switch in the summer. A new free update is hitting Mario Odyssey with a new mode called Luigi's Balloon World with an online balloon hide and seek event, which looks really cool. Also has new snapshot filters and outfits coming out in February. So free update in just a month. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy is coming from SNK and Nis America this summer. Also going to be hitting the PS4. Donkey Kong is coming as a new DLC character to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle this spring. Payday 2 is hitting the Switch February 27th with an all-new character debuting on the platform. And again, this was in a 14-minute video and we're still not done.
Sheesh.
Faye, the new game from Zoink Games and EA, is launching February 16th. They announced a brand new 2D platforming Looks like a lot of like air dashing, and one of those brutal platformer punishment style games called Celeste is launching January 25th. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I was jumping ahead earlier, is hitting the Switch on May 4th and includes Funky Kong as an all-new playable character. And then they showed a trailer for Dark Souls Remastered, which is hitting the Switch on May 25th, as well as all the other platforms as well, for $40. All of that news in a 14-minute clip.
Just news. Blah,
it was just news. It was awesome. I love when Nintendo does directs like that.
I want to say Nintendo has got one thing over Microsoft and PlayStation in the bag. When they announce shit, they're announcing it right now.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
You know, this is coming out this week, next week, week after that. Like with Xbox, it's like, look at this awesome game we're making. It's costing hundreds of millions of dollars to make it, and you'll get to play it in 3 years.
Well, that's why Microsoft stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Because
like,
they had shit
Nintendo's
like Scalebound happen.
Nintendo's like, we made extreme DLC with everything you've ever loved, and you get to play it tomorrow. You're just like, oh, okay.
I really do like the trend that Microsoft has been doing lately. Bethesda did it at E3 last year, where they're like, we're not going to announce shit that's years ahead. Meanwhile, Sony's like, here's a new game. You're going to play it in 2025.
So everybody's like, oh, the God of War game is coming in, blah, blah, and I'm like, wait, there's another one? No, this is the one they announced in like 2012. I'm going, what? How does that work?
Yeah.
Because I find what tends to happen is like technology advances a lot in 5 years, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Fortunately and unfortunately. So like they're like, oh, look at this game, and then you don't hear from it because they've got to rewrite it 17 times to work with new equipment.
Yeah. Speaking of that Dark Souls Remastered, though, it was also announced along with Dark Souls Remastered, in Japan, there's going to be a limited Dark Souls trilogy collector set for the PS4, which includes the remastered versions of Dark Souls 1 and 2, as well as the complete edition of Dark Souls 3. It comes with 2 bookends, a 10-piece art set and a frame, 3 encyclopedias of the items of Dark Souls, and a special case to hold all 3 of the game discs, as well as 6 soundtrack discs.
Jeez.
It is an insane looking collector's edition. So far, it's only announced for Japan, and it's supposedly only going to be for PS4. And it clocks in at a whopping 49,800 yen, which translates to around $425. And it looks insane.
I've never played Dark Souls.
Well, now you could play the whole trilogy. Well, technically, you already can play the whole trilogy on Xbox One.
For like a game reviewer, I spend a lot of time saying I never played.
Yeah, I know. Hey, remember when you used to make fun of CJ all the time for like, oh, you haven't played that game?
I know. I play the most obscure things and like, don't mind me. I've got 74 hours in Night in the Woods, but I haven't played Dark Souls.
Speaking of remasters, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered will be launching March 20th for Xbox One and PS4. Will include 4K visuals on the X and the PS4 Pro, as well as all of the release DLC, which I think for Rogue was only like a couple of item packs and some bonus missions. So there's not any substantial DLC, but whatever was there will be included. So it's cool to see that one getting.
Yeah, because Rogue, I rented it and I got to play like half of it before I had to take it back. And then I never got to finish. And it's one of the few Assassin's Creed games that I just don't have in my collection. And I kind of need to put it there. So
well, it is backward compatible on the one if you don't want to rebuy like the new version. But, you know, now you'll have it
I'll probably rebuy the new version because I never bought the 360 version. I just rented it. So
that works.
Yeah, so I need it either way. And if I'm going to get it, I might as well get it all remastered and shit and fancy.
Yeah.
Especially because when I played it the first time, there was a lot of glitches and bugs. As Assassin's Creed games, I love them, but they're notorious for launch day woes.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
You know, Rogue was no different. There were a lot of times where, you know, you're walking around without a face or whatever, and just shit happens. But, you know,
It was better than Unity.
It was. I'm sad that Unity wasn't more successful and better done, especially because it was the first time we had the option to play it cooperatively.
Yeah.
And I made every one of my motherfucking friends. I was like, you playing some Assassin's Creed with me now? And, me and one of my other friends, we're both big Assassin's Creed fans, but our third wheel buddy, he's not so much. And so, this was our chance. We're like, oh, we're going to get into Assassin's Creed, and this is going to go wonderful. And then it was Unity.
Yeah, at least Syndicate was better.
Got him to finish it. I think I finished. That's the thing too. They even felt so bad that the DLC for Unity was free, and I downloaded it and it glitched, and I never got my last achievement.
Oh God!
This was stopping me from having a completion in Unity.
I never did Unity co-op stuff. I always tried asking friends, and they're like, "No."
Yeah, I played the shit out of it. I really did. And even for all of its problems, I still enjoyed the story. Although I will say it was weird, given the whole system of the Brotherhood and how there's so many assassins and everything, and you just played as the one dude with 4 of you standing there. It was like, come on, you couldn't give us a skin for anything. We're just 4 different colored dudes. So it was a little bit of a bummer, but they tried, and maybe they learned some lessons and we'll try it later on.
Maybe.
I don't know. I doubt it, especially with the whole kickback to Origins, and they didn't even bother to give him a female counterpart this time, so.
Yeah. Well, last bit of news I have is we mentioned Issei is hitting the Switch this summer. It is also finally going to be launching on Steam on January 30th. Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, is also hitting Steam on February 1st. So it is a good week for Steam RPG fans. And then it's a bad week for Cliffy B, as his supreme shooting masterpiece LawBreakers had a 4-hour stretch on Steam with a player count of 0. Yeah, there was no confirmed maintenance or downtime, so it was just nobody giving a fuck about the game.
That's heartbreaking. I don't know. I don't ever want to see a game struggle like that.
No.
Yeah, not all of them can be great, but that's still somebody's time and effort and hopes and dreams, and
Yeah, the writing's been on the wall with this one, and the same screenshot that showed the 0 player stretch showed that it had a 24-hour peak of 24 players. That was the highest amount of people playing at one time. So,
that's really depressing.
Might be time to give up on that one. It looks like for a guy who was so well known as being an Xbox person, having a Steam and PS4 only game didn't seem to work out too well for him. It's like, he abandoned the audience that he built up or something.
Yeah, that's disappointing. But that's what happens when you ignore Xbox people. Take it as a warning. I don't care what other reasons may be behind LawBreakers' fumble. It's because he ignored Xbox.
A part of me thinks it is, because all of his games were Xbox titles. He built up an audience on the Xbox 360, and then he just said, fuck him.
I'm not familiar with this guy's backstory, so what else did he make?
Gears of War.
Okay.
So that,
gotcha.
he's the man who created Gears of War, which is synonymous with Xbox.
Yeah.
And his new game, he just bailed on Xbox.
To have bail on Xbox. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Maybe he got what was coming to him then. I don't know.
But we should probably dive into reviews. We only have a small handful, at least you and I. I'm going to see if I could get Chris Taylor involved to do a handful as well. As everyone knows, we took a week off so that I could attend MAGFest. I was gone pretty much since the last episode went up until kind of now. So I didn't really get to play too much in the week I was away. I also... Well, I've been home for about 2 days now, but I also had company who, he has a habit after MAGFest of staying at our house and not really knowing when to go. I love him, but he just sometimes, I have shit I need to do, and instead he'll just play Like, if you look at my Xbox play history this week, it's a whole bunch of games I've never played. Like WWE 2K17, and he didn't like that, so he went back to 2K15 instead. He's like, let me fire up Blood Bowl 2, another game I never... He would just find all these games, play each one for about 15 minutes, and then move on. So
that's when you need to like get you some soap for the guest bathroom that's like shaped like a hedgehog or a porcupine or something. It's all kind of pokey on the back end of it. And then that's just like put little hints, passive aggressive hints like that around. Hi, you've overstayed your welcome. Here's some prickly soap for your ass.
Yeah. Well, we had to end up go visiting my mom yesterday anyway. So, we're leaving the house and he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll head home. So, hey, the parents' visit sometimes helps out.
See, I don't have that luxury, but that's why sometimes I get overwhelmed when my oldest daughter, with teenagers, I think it's best to have like an open door policy. Your friends want to come over? Come over. I don't care. I don't ask any questions. Y'all need to be here? Be here. Some of these kids around here have pretty shitty home lives. So I just let it go. Like, whatever, come through the door. Sometimes they will come and they'll be here a week. You're just like, your parents know you're here still?
They ran away from home.
Yeah. Like, I just assume if a parent isn't calling me like, hey, do you have my kid? That they know where they're at.
Oh man, but
I'll come get them eventually.
Thankfully, I had my Switch with me down at MAGFest, hooked up in the room, so I did get to play a couple of games, and we're going to start off with Pic-a-Pix Deluxe, developed and published by Lightwood Games. It released January 4th on the Switch for $7.99. There is also a Pic-a-Pix Color DLC pack for $3.99 with 150 additional puzzles from the 3DS and Wii U versions of Pic-a-Pix Color. Pic-a-Pix are exciting logic puzzles that form whimsical pixel art pictures when solved. Pic-a-Pix are sometimes known by other names, such as the more commonly known Picross. Pic-a-Pix Deluxe now includes classic black and white Picross, as well as color puzzles which use color-coded clues to add a new dimension to the game. Are you familiar with Picross?
No.
Basically, there is a grid, usually like 10 by 10. They could be larger or smaller, and on the top and the side, there will be numbers listed, which in a 10 by 10, if it has a 10, it means all 10 of the blocks are colored. If it is, for example, 7 and then 2, it means that there's going to be 7 colored ones, a space, and then 2 colored ones, which, when they add up to something close to 10, it makes it kind of easy to do. Sometimes you'll have like a 1, a 3, and a 1 out of 10 blocks. So obviously you can't just jump to that one right away. It's pretty much you have to fill out a grid of colored tiles based on the clues that you're given. And once all is said and done, you'll have a picture formed with all of, the pretty much a pixel art image you're trying to solve.
Okay.
There's been a large series of Picross games on the God, I can't talk today. A large series of Picross games on the 3DS. There was also one released on the Switch before. They date all the way back. I was playing Picross games on like the Game Boy. That's how old the series dates back. This new one, it kind of adds a whole new dimension with the color puzzles, where the numbers will also be color coded. And anytime that there are, a certain color number, you have to make sure that the block is that color. And when it mixes multiple colors with spaces and different placements, it's a really tricky and unique twist on the Picross concept. I have been heavily addicted to this game. I've always been a fan of Picross games. This game has, I want to say like 300 puzzles, something ridiculous in the game. And they go everywhere from like 5x5 for the easier stuff. I think the largest one I saw was 35 by 35. So there are some huge puzzles in this game, and they get fairly difficult the further in you go. They have the main section are the colored puzzles where you have to work with the different colors and create the pictures. They also have a black and white section, which has I think it's like 150 color, 150 black and white So there's a ton of content in this game, and if you have ever played a Picross game and you are looking for a fun, different twist on it, I think Pic-a-Pix Deluxe is absolutely worth picking up. $8. There is an absurd amount of content in there. Plus, they do have the DLC. They mentioned that there will be more DLC packs releasing in the future. I'm sure there's always a chance we might see some, a free pack here or some extra content updates here and there. But if you've never played the Picross games before, it might be better to try finding something on the 3DS. I know those games are usually around $5. And the colored ones, which, God, that sounds horrible when I'm saying it.
Fucking Joe, though. No.
The color puzzles are significantly more difficult to get into if you've never played the game before. Just trying to work with them in black and white can be difficult enough with some of the more difficult puzzles. But having the different colors and trying to figure those out will be a lot more difficult than in some of the other games. This game is also a lot more forgiving. I know in some of the other Picross games, if you place something down in the wrong spot, you get hit with a time penalty pretty much immediately. In this game, you can put blocks anywhere you want, and there's no kind of penalty at all. It doesn't mean that the puzzle's going to be right, but you won't immediately get hit with a puzzle. You can also hit a button that just tells you if there's any errors. If there are, it'll say like, hey, there's 3 errors. Fix them. You are also able to use the hint system to just fix the ones you fucked up. If you do that, you won't be able to get like a gold medal on the puzzle, because I did it once by accident and I had to go back and resolve the puzzle. So if you're trying to check for hints, make sure that you don't have the game automatically fix them. Figure it out on your own. So while, again, the game does have these benefits and these systems in place to make it generally easier to figure out the puzzles, I still think with the color puzzles, a standard version might be a lot easier to get into for newcomers. If you know the game, if you've played these games or any similar games before, and you know what Picross is, for $8, I think this is definitely a must-own kind of game with how much content is there.
Nice. Indeed.
So yeah, good stuff. I kind of want to just stop and go play some more.
Goddamn. I'm being ditched for a puzzle game.
Well, to be fair, you're up next, and I could play it while you're talking, because the next game to talk about is called Albert and Otto, developed by K-Bros Games, published by Digerati Distribution, released January 10th on Xbox One. It'll be out January 16th on PS4 for $11.99. Traverse a haunting world set in 1939 Germany in search of a mysterious girl with rabbit ears. Utilize a little bunny in creative ways to solve puzzles. Levitate sheep. Use them as torches or wolf bait and make your way through a land that seems to not fancy you being alive. Paul, tell me about this game.
It shocks me that, like, the solution to 95% of the puzzles is in the description. Every time I hear it, I have to stop and go, no, wait, that's spoiler alert.
So, murdering sheep is how you play the game?
Oh my gosh. And when you fucking with the sheep, they go, wee, and make this horrible noise. Oh, hold on. Let me get back and start this review from the top.
Okay,
before I get distracted
Cole,
by sheep
tell
murder.
me about this game.
Sheep murder. So you play, as the description said, it's 1939 pre-war Germany. There's obvious signs that the war is starting to ramp up and take place around. Albert and Otto plays very much like Limbo and Monochrome and Inside and all those other Monochroma in it. I said it wrong. The other 2D puzzle platformers that we've seen, it's not genre breaking in any regard as far as that goes, but it does have its own twist, and I say its own twist because I haven't played the others, so if they have anything like this, I'm sorry. But it does have the mechanic where you as the player take control of Albert, who is a little boy who has lost his sister, and he's looking for his sister, and he comes across her favorite plush bunny named Otto. So she's obviously lost Otto as well. Otto has, for some unknown reasons, he has some abilities. And taking control of Otto, putting him in your backpack, lets Albert use those abilities to traverse this dangerous world and try to find his sister. Albert alone can just, he can run, he can do a basic jump, and he has a little, single shot BB gun that he can use. But, like I said, single shot, he has to reload after every shot, so be careful with what you're doing with it. You can't just, pew, 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 through the whole thing. And for most of it, you don't even need the BB gun, but it does come in handy for a few puzzles. But when he's got Otto in his backpack, he can actually double jump in the beginning, and eventually Otto even becomes charged with electricity so that he can be used to power on switches. And the levitate, which is what we hear about the sheep and horrible sheep murder. You can actually pick up items in the world that aren't around you, whether it be small blocks, like little wood crates that are littered around, to use to put on, pressure plates to trigger gates and stuff. Or you can leave Otto. You can drop him and leave him behind. Yeah, just drop him, leave him behind on a pressure plate, but you do lose whatever abilities you had because of Otto when he's left behind. That doesn't mean you keep him with you and just run through the thing. Because Otto has powers. You do have to leave him behind. In some circumstances, you will need to leave Otto on a pressure plate, move forward until you can find a box that you can put on the pressure plate, and then you can pick Otto back up and then go through the gate again and continue on with a puzzle. I felt like the puzzles themselves were really creative in that they weren't anything where the answer just kind of slaps you in the face. You don't look at it and go, oh, I know what to do, with some of the more advanced puzzles. In the beginning, of course you do, because they're trying to teach you how to use the mechanics. But when you get into the later puzzles, you really have to take some trial and effort here.
Yeah.
And test something out, and it's not going to work, and go back and do it again until you get the right solution. Which may or may not involve levitating a sheep into a fire and then sticking its body on spikes to use as a torch in a dark cave, or purposely throwing it in the water so that you can jump on it and use it as a platform to get over the horrible man-eating fish in the water. I'm a little traumatized by the things you do to the sheep in this game.
Oh, Lord.
And it's like I said, because when you use the levitation ability and you pick up the sheep or whatever, they make this god-awful scream. And it's one of the few times there's sound in the game beyond you can hear the occasional sound of airplanes or bombs or whatever, because it is, a war zone. Sometimes though the sheep are right in your ears and they're just meh, and you're like, oh God, what am I doing to you? And then you drop it and then the wolf eats it and you're like, well, fuck, guess I can go now. And that's one of the puzzles, is just straight up. And the funny part is, in the achievements, there's a reference to Telltale games. When you feed the sheep to the wolf, it comes up with the achievement and says the sheep will remember that.
Nice.
There's a lot of really good references in the achievements that you wouldn't expect for a game that's so seriously toned. There's an achievement called 180 no scope.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's for jumping over a crow and then shooting it with the BB gun while you're still in the air. And you're just oh my gosh, the achievements and the humor tucked inside them doesn't fit the tone of the game at all. But it's a nice little comedic relief when you do something like that and trigger the achievement when you're in what would otherwise be a tense situation.
Nice. So the game at least still has a nice sense of humor to it.
It does. I will say, it doesn't shove the story down your throat. there isn't any dialogue other than the sheep and their meh in your ear when you pick them up or when you torch them. But the story itself is told throughout letters that the sister Anna has left. I assume since it's German, it's probably pronounced Anna. But she has left letters throughout the world for Albert to find. And there's little mailboxes. You'll know if you collected the mailbox because there's a red flag hanging off of it if you have not, and it will go away if you have. And there are also memory shards scattered about. There's 26 of those that you collect throughout the world, and getting all of them will piece a picture together. But you only see the picture when you press start. And when you press it, you can tell, how many shards you've collected and how many you've got left to go. And it kind of works clockwise, not counterclockwise. I'm sorry. Clockwise, starting at like 6 o'clock, going around the picture. So, if you got to the end and you look at the picture and there's shards from the left-hand side, you're like, shit, I missed those in the beginning. So it at least helps because you can do chapter select and go back to the chapters. And
That's helpful.
Whatever you can. Especially helpful because there are 3 achievements for beating this motherfucker without dying on the bosses. Each boss individually. And this is where my greatest complaint with the game comes through. And I try not to let achievements rule a complaint. But the boss battles suffer from the clunky control. The whole game suffers from kind of clunky controls. But for most of the puzzles, it's pretty forgivable and it's not overwhelmingly noticed.
Yeah.
When you get to those boss battles, though, and you're trying to time things and it's rapid and then you can't die, then it becomes problematic. And that's when I'm just like, if you're going to play through this and play through without focusing on the fact that, I've got to not die. There's an achievement for not dying on the 2 bosses, one for each boss. And then there's one for not dying during a river sequence. Without giving any spoilers away, I won't go into further detail on that. But it can be really difficult. And I was trying to get those, and I tested by hitting last checkpoint when I knew I was in a bad spot and wasn't going to make it. I would go ahead and hit last checkpoint to take me back. And even though I never technically died, I still didn't get the achievements. So usually you have to do it one run through. And that can be hard. When I was playing, the first boss in particular was problematic. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about that one because you can see it in screenshots and stuff and the trailer of the game. It's a large giant robot that comes up and he's kind of in the background. And the way that, Albert and Otto uses the monochromatic scheme, everything is black and gray, but the darker it is, the further back it is, and the closer to the foreground it is, with the exception of being extreme foreground and out of focus. Those items are just as black as if they were further away. But, everything that's supposed to be in your direct area there is white or some lighter shade of gray. So the boss is in the background and there are 3 pressure plates. You have to drop Otto on one, trick the robot into hitting the second, and jump over onto the third at the same time to make a rock fall down and hit the robot. Then it follows your typical video game rule of 3, and he has 3 different attacks. So the second one is laser that shoots. The laser only affects the area on the ground though. So even though there's a beam coming from his eye, you can jump through that and not be affected. You're only affected if you're on the ground where the laser touches at the top.
Gotcha.
But because that does still require, you're still trying to maneuver around where you're tricking his fist to come down at. With clunky controls, sometimes the jumps just don't happen like they should. And it's even worse. If you got Otto on your pack, fine, you can double jump and kind of correct it. But if you don't, and you're trying to make the jump from platform to platform to get to the other pressure plate, there were a lot of times where I would just fall right out of midair and just, that was that. Okay, now what? I died. And then another instance in that same battle, the robot's fist came down and it glitched. He didn't ever pick it back up. When the robot's fist comes down, it only affects a certain area of the platform, but there's steam that shoots out and you get blown off the platform if you get hit by that steam. I was on the second platform away from where his fist come down, and the steam come out and it missed me the first time. The second time I hadn't even moved because there wasn't any point. He was just standing there. The steam come out again. The fist was glitched. He never picked it up. It just started bursting out the steam repeatedly. Ew. And then I randomly got blown off the platform and into the spikes, and I died, and I didn't even move. Like, it didn't hit me the first time. It hit me like the 17th time, and I'm going, okay, that's a thing that happened. Oh, so boy. I don't get the achievement for beating it without dying because
it glitched.
So, it's, I wish it had more polish for shit like that, especially considering it's a 2-year-old game. It came out on Steam 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just a shame because for every other aspect of this game, I really enjoyed it. I just loved it. The story is great. I wish that we will get the end to the story. That's another thing I'm concerned about. It's been out 2 years on Steam. This is episode 1. There's supposed to be 4 episodes and we've not seen shit else.
Oh, God.
So the story sets up all these questions and gives you all these little details that make you start asking questions and wanting to finish out this plot and find things out. And we might not ever get the end of it. We might not ever even get the second part of it. I will say, though, that when you download the game, it says that it's the complete edition. So
interesting.
I don't know what the deal is. The achievement says complete episode 1 with 5 deaths or less, and it pops no matter how many times you die. Like, there's a lot of questions.
Well, maybe we'll find out more. Now that it's on console, maybe we'll hear more about the remaining episodes. Maybe they're waiting till everything's finished before they do them. Who knows?
Maybe. It's just a lot of questions as for the future of this game, because I really enjoyed it. Despite the glitch and the couple of hiccups and the clunky controls, yeah, it could be more polished, but I want to know what happens. And I got invested in Anna and Albert and Otto, and I want to see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, lack of future knowledge withstanding, for $12 for what's there now, what is your verdict?
I still give this a really solid try it.
Sounds good.
A little more polish and some details on what the fuck's going to happen from here. And otherwise, it would be an easy buy it, but I do give it a solid try it for now.
All right, we were tagging out Cole for a little bit, and we're bringing in our good friend Chris Taylor. Chris, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Ooh, tag in, brother.
Oh, yeah.
But you're here to talk about a shitload of Switch games.
Yes, a veritable shitload.
Indeed. You have a nice stack to go through. You've been, instead of being at MAGFest with everyone else, you've been playing Switch games to make up for it.
Yes, that's long live the Switch.
Indeed. So let's dive right in. The first game you're here to talk about is called Stickbold, a Dodgeball Adventure Deluxe. Developed and published by GameSwing, released January 1st on the Switch for $15.99. Stickbold, a Dodgeball Adventure, hits right where it hurts. Stickbold is a hard-hitting, fast-paced dodgeball sports game set in a colorful and quirky 70s universe. With brand new content, improved features, and gameplay for up to 6 players, the Switch-exclusive Deluxe Edition is perfect for any party or social gathering. Chris, tell me about this game.
Oh, man. So I was a little surprised by this game, to be honest, because what was described to me sounds like this is some kind of like dodgeball game. But it
kind of is.
It is a game. It's a very good game that occasionally contains dodgeball, which is fine with me because, like, apart from what it was Super Dodgeball on the NES. I really haven't had too much experience with the sport. So yeah, basically so it's kind of like an adventure game that's set in various one-screen stages. Stars a Swedish guy, I guess a Swedish guy. I'm not sure what country this game comes from, but whatever country it is, it's like it's all over this game. Like they made no effort to make this seem like an American product, except to say that that Bjorn and Jerome are like definitely have the look of like a typical sort of, you know, buddy team of action heroes in the 70s, you know, a white guy with the long hair and the black guy with the big fro. And, you know, they're very funny. Like the dialogue, this is going to sound like being racist against white people, but I couldn't tell if the dialogue was actually like video game gibberish or an actual Scandinavian language.
Oh, God.
It seems to be an actual Scandinavian language, but it's practically nonsense. But anyway, so it opens up with learning how to play dodgeball in preparation for the big game that's that night. And Bjorn and Jerome are a two-man like championship dodgeball team duo, and they've won first place like all the time. But this last time they won second place, and so their coach is furious at them and like forcing them to like train as hard as they can and like all this other stuff. And then like the rival comes in, which Bjorn's it's a lady that Bjorn's obviously in love with, and then she gets kidnapped. And so you basically chase down her captors so that you can get her back to the game and I guess play a round of dodgeball against her. But what happens is you go out into the outside world where you use dodgeball in order to fight enemies and get yourself out of wacky situations. Without revealing too much, you have to, like the third stage, I believe, is where you have to use dodgeballs in order to take down a van full of hippies who are scavenging honey from beehives in the neighborhood. And so it's a bizarre game, and it's like the action of it is dodgeball, but the actual game itself is an action adventure. So the actual way of playing dodgeball in this is really good. It's a nice bird's eye angular view of the field, and you move your characters around. You don't really have a lot of freedom to switch which one you're playing through, but the AI of the partners is actually really good, and you can pass the ball back and forth. And, you know, use one stick to like charge and throw the ball. The other stick can kind of force you to face in a direction so that you can back up or side swipe or, you know, strafe. And there's things like curving the ball. There's these like diving passes and like a lot of cool little easy to use mechanics to kind of help things go along. But really, like the name of the game is going against these other people and throwing a dodgeball at them. So it's a very simple sort of dodgeball mechanic, but what makes this game so good is that it's this wacky adventure that's kind of just it happens to be that dodgeball is the answer to pretty much every situation that comes up.
Is it not?
Well, like there's actual dodgeball in it at some point. Like I played one game of dodgeball in about 2 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, and you can, of course, there's multiplayer, so you can play dodgeball against people. You can also just play a quick match against the computer. So there's dodgeball to be had. I'm more talking about the story mode. Like as opposed to another sports game, which would be like, you know, just ramping up, you know, higher difficulty games. This one has you actually going out in a story and an adventure.
And it's a crazy adventure. I played this one back on the Xbox One, and I thought it was a pretty batshit crazy game.
Yes, and of course that's something that that always speaks to me. So it kind of reminded me of this obscure PlayStation sort of rhythm game called Incredible Crisis.
Nice.
Yeah, did you ever play that one?
Hell yeah, man. That is not a very common game to hear people talk about.
No, but I mean, it kind of has that feel to it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Of just like getting into the most random situations and then having to use the gameplay to get out of it.
That is an awesome reference. I thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And like Incredible Crisis, I really enjoyed the soundtrack to this game. It's really fun.
Yeah,
it's kind of
that funky 70s vibe.
Yes, it has that. Has a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a mostly funk, a little bit of classic rock sort of sound. Very lovingly done by, these Scandinavians. I mean, you should know that it's not really an American game because Stick is even spelled like STIK.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the name of the game is Stick Bold.
Yeah.
You can't expect like a New York development team.
Right. But I mean, if it happened to be, then good job, guys.
Indeed. So yeah, what did you think of this one?
Definitely a buy it. If you're into like it's hard to put this to an audience, so I'm going to recommend you just check it out, and then I think you're going to really enjoy it. Like it's like I said, it's essentially dodgeball, but I mean, what's a hardcore dodgeball fan anyway? Like you're just
someone who watched the movie.
Yes, somebody who watched the movie, and even then the movie's wacky. So there you go. It speaks perfectly to its audience, so go buy it.
Do you have any idea what the new content is for the deluxe edition?
Deluxe edition?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. No.
Because the one on Switch is Stick Bold, a dodgeball adventure deluxe.
I don't know. Is it the Wheel of Rumpus? Because that's an option.
I've been trying to look it up. Details. More players. It went from 4-player to 6-player.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yes, the Wheel of Rumpus is new.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Wheel of Rumpus, like, I haven't gotten into that one yet because it's a multiplayer only feature.
Gotcha.
But yes, it does appear to have, like, there's lots and lots of characters. Like, basically every time you beat a stage, depending on what, there's certain requirements, like achievements, basically, that you can do in the stage, and every time you clear one, or if you clear enough of them, it unlocks a new character, and they have spots for 18 characters.
Nice.
So yeah, I totally unlocked
a lot of shit in that game.
Yes, lots of shit.
And then a quick update. I said the price is $15.99. That is actually a launch discount. So standard price is $19.99. It is 20% off for the first 2 weeks. So I believe the price is going to be going up sometime mid next week. So if you're considering it, get it while the price is hot.
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely get it while it's cheap. But even at $20, it's worth it because they just recently released Overcooked on the system too, and that's a fantastic 4-player game. So it would make a great 4-player game for when you're done with Overcooked.
Or 6-player game.
Or 6 players, yeah.
All right, but moving on, next one to talk about is Arcade Archives Neo Geo King of the Monsters, developed and published by Hamster. This one released January 4th on the Switch for $7.99. King of the Monsters is an action game released by SNK in 1991. Players choose from one of 6 monsters available and battle their way across Japan in order to claim the title of strongest monster. In addition to normal attacks such as punches and kicks, master more destructive techniques such as flame and beam attacks to overcome the enemies. Kris, tell me about this one.
Okay, well, King of the Monsters, man. What can you say? That's the end of my review.
Helpful.
Wouldn't that be great?
And your rating?
Definite buy it. No. Okay, so this is another in the seemingly fairly long line of arcade re-releases, lovingly done by this company. Features. Sorry, I'm like trying to. It features an unassailable options menu. I never understand why they can't just do direction and A button. It's like it's always like some R or plus or. I'm not going to look through the options. So, King of the Monsters is the original game that should have been Godzilla. Whereas like Godzilla got its video game spotlight on a dubious quality NES game and a Game Boy game that we won't even talk about. The concept of King of the Monsters is that you have this you have your two big Daikaiju in an isometric city where they get to brawl it out. They can throw buildings at each other. They can shoot fire, electricity, beams, things like that at each other. And it's kind of part one-on-one brawler. Mostly it's a wrestling game of sorts, because you're supposed to drain the other character's energy bar all the way down and then pin them. And once the count goes to 3, then you win. And then, you move on to a different city. Eventually, this would be the kind of game that would be fully realized in a Godzilla game, which was Destroy All Monsters Melee, which is basically this game. However, because SNK didn't have license to use the popular Daikaiju of the day, they sort of made these approximate sort of pastiche characters. And I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but you have your Godzilla look-alike, your King Kong look-alike, a big rock biter for whatever reason, a big sort of Ultraman type character, just sort of a giant human-ish person, a slime monster, and a giant beetle. And they each have like different stats, like different movement speeds, strength levels, things like that. You'll just eventually pick the one you think is the coolest and get good at him.
Yeah.
And interestingly, with this Neo Geo game, it's one of those where there's a lot of moves that are kind of obscured in button combinations, because I guess this was meant for a multi-game cabinet in that it doesn't have like a custom set of buttons for it or anything. So it ends up being that like your punch and your kick button, you have to hold them down for a time in order to charge up a laser, for instance, or push 2 buttons at once to jump. So there's some learning involved in mastery over this game. But fortunately, once you get like the controls down, just like the other Neo Geo arcade re-releases, this one has a difficulty toggle that goes all the way down to child level.
Good for people like me.
And me, because this game can get pretty brutal.
Well, arcade fighting game, you kind of got to expect that going in.
Oh yeah. It's one of the only arcade fighting games that I've played where if you lose and put in another quarter, you get to start the round from where you left off with full power, whereas the enemy has the same amount of power they had. So you can actually wear down this game through attrition.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's always, like I said, rich kid strats. That's you can dump as many quarters as you want into this thing and eventually beat it. So, and of course you actually, this game does have an ending. Like if you fight all the monsters and defeat them all, then you're like, oh, I won. But then it just starts over. You have to beat all the monsters twice, and then you get an ending. Just an FYI for new players.
Nice. So how well does it play on the Switch? Feel good? Play good?
Feels great. It looks awesome on a big screen TV. Feels good I of course, you can play it with the detached controllers, or you can use a Pro controller, which of course I recommend. Because I really, really love the Pro controller for the Switch.
Hell yeah.
And that thing, I've never gotten it to run out of batteries.
I think it's impossible. I think there's a nuclear reactor inside every Pro controller.
Yeah. So it's I think the controller is like powered by love. And so there's just infinite love that I have for the Switch, and thus the controller will work indefinitely. I don't know. That's
nice.
Getting a bit cheesy. Yeah.
Just a bit. So $8 on this one. Your verdict, sir?
$8, get it. If you're a Neo Geo fan, which if you've been collecting these games, like this is one that you've probably been waiting for, because King of the Monsters is among the best and most popular of the Neo Geo arcade set of the early 90s. And I'm really hoping that that they go all the way and bring out King of the Monsters 2, because that one's got some characters. Yeah, I really like that one, and that's I feel like it's got a better soundtrack, but they both had these great Godzilla style, like seriously sinister soundtracks, also with rock and metal and funk. And yeah, it's a real fun time. This is a great game to either relive or live for the first time.
Nice. Sounds good. Moving on, we have a 2-pack of energy games to talk about. First one is Energy Cycle, developed and published by Sometimes You, released December 25th on the Switch for $2.99. Energy Cycle, new puzzle game from the developers of Energy Balance. When you click each cell on the game field, it changes color and the colors of adjacent cells horizontally and vertically. Your task is to bring all the cells to the same color. Sounds pretty easy, but try to do it. Chris, did you do it?
I did it like a few times. Okay, so Energy Cycle, yeah, it's pretty tough. So I went in and it was like light up one spot and all the adjacent spots light up, and I didn't realize it was like in a vertical line because I used to have this toy called Lights Out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where it had the light up buttons and you push the button and it would toggle, but it would also toggle all the ones around it, so you just kind of had to like get it, to where you could make them all light up. So this is a little bit like that, except that the playing field is a specific pattern of vertical and horizontal lines, and sometimes individual dots. And so if you click the dots, then everything going in that line's direction then changes color, which becomes complicated once you figure out that, the vertical lines obviously have that one dot that's running through the horizontal line. So if they aren't already the same color, then once you go to switch the vertical line, it's going to switch that one piece. And so the game becomes, sort of like the Lights Out, but in a different way. It really becomes this sort of Rubik's Cube of like trying to figure out what color is next and, manipulating the playing field to, where you can get it in as few moves as possible, because it actually measures your amount of moves and keeps a record of them. So it's a really difficult puzzle game, definitely for the type that enjoy things like Lights Out and these sort of like mathematical grid problems, People who are smarter than me.
I know this one was a very popular one on the Xbox One because it was a $3 game with 1,000 achievement points, and you could technically just go out and find a guide that tells you exactly what to press, which to me, it kind of strips out all the fun of the game and the whole fucking point of playing it.
Yeah, well, so if you're playing this on Switch, then you're not doing it for achievement points.
Yeah. So,
I suppose fans of the Xbox version aren't going to find a whole lot of new stuff here to enjoy. Like I said, this is, at its face value, this is a game that is designed for people with big, giant brains.
Like me.
Like me. Like us.
Indeed. So $3 your verdict.
$3, I say go for it, as long as you are prepared for what you're about to get into, because there's lots and lots of content here. Like I said, there's records to break and there's all kinds of stuff. The aesthetics, I'm going to actually get into that in detail with Energy Invasion 2, but the aesthetics of it is that it's really, it's a dark background with really bright, like, colorful lights kind of going off, and the screen occasionally has like these pre-programmed glitches and stuff that it does because it's like kind of cool and cyberpunk, I guess. I don't know. Whatever the kids like. It's vaporwave, let's call it that.
Sounds good. But since you mentioned it, let's jump to it. Energy Invasion, also developed and published by Sometimes You. This one released January 10th on PS4, Vita, and Steam. January 11th on the Switch for $2.99 once again. Energy Invasion, an arcade game inspired by the classic Breakout. Unlike the original game, your ball does not break blocks on its own, but can launch missiles in a chosen direction. Sounds very interesting. Tell me about this one, because I have not played this one yet.
Oh man, Energy Invasion. Now this game, when I started playing it, I was like, this is more like it. Because it had the same like noisy music with the big swooshy bass. Like this is real fun with headphones or a nice sound system. It's got that deep throbbing bass and that like nice sort of noise factor. Very, very modern. And again, the aesthetics are, black backgrounds, bright colors, real cool looking. But yes, the actual gameplay of it is a very, very unique take on the Breakout or Arkanoid, as I would consider it, sort of clones. So you do have the paddle down below, which is, for whatever reason, like it looks like this little energy black hole or something. It actually was a little hard to figure out where the hitbox was at first, so expect that to be a learning curve. However, yeah, you shoot the ball and it bounces off the walls and stuff like that. Of course, you can't let it hit the floor, otherwise, you lose your turn. And the goal of it, of course, is to break all of the blocks that are up in the ceiling. Now, like I said, the difference is that it plays a little bit more like a twin stick shooter. I mentioned that in Vostok Inc. and, of course, Geometry Wars, where one stick controls the ship and the other stick controls the direction of the automatic fire that comes out. Well, in this one, you don't get to control the ship. You're controlling the paddle that bounces the ship. But that right stick is still going to aim an auto-firing missile-like thing that comes out of the actual ball. So as you're passing or clanging into these bricks, you're actually supposed to be shooting them with missiles controlled by the right stick. So in that sense, it becomes this whole new layer of having to sort of multitask the where your attention is going. Like you have to pay attention to the paddle ball as well as the direction your missiles are shooting in. Now they've done some things with this to make it like even more interesting. For one, what was I gonna? I like kind of blanked out on which to go into first, so I'll just go into the second one first. So if your ball is, let's say, bouncing from wall to wall in a downward sort of angle towards the bottom, instead of like, let's say it actually goes past your paddle, so there's no possibility of rescue and it's just bouncing back and forth. Well, if you shoot missiles downward, it will actually start to propel your ball back upwards. So the physics of the game actually accounts for kickback from shooting your missiles. So in that way, you can subtly change the direction of the ball by blasting stuff in the opposite direction. So that's one thing that I quite liked about it, is that it's not just the twin stick shooter aspect, is that you can actually control the ball using the fire in that way.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm. And the other part is that sometimes the bricks will actually take more than one hit. They have little energy balls that appear in them, and if there's like 3, then it takes 3 hits to take down that thing. And sometimes they can actually heal themselves. And sometimes I think it actually correlates with how many shots you shoot that actually miss. I think can actually make the brick stronger. I haven't quite played enough rounds. I played some dozens of rounds, but not enough to really tell what was going on. It kind of just sucked me in, which is any good Breakout or Arkanoid game is going to do.
Yeah. So overall, $3. Your thoughts on this one?
$3, definitely. This one's a little bit more user friendly than Energy Cycle. Both of them are very difficult. However, I think getting the hang of Energy Invasion is a little bit easier to do than Energy Cycle. So I would call it more of the general population sort of game, whereas Energy Cycle is a little bit more specialized.
Gotcha. So Energy Invasion is a buy it. Energy Cycle is like a fuck it, why not? It's only $3.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And if you like I said, if you like the look and the feel of Energy Invasion, you just want a different kind of game, for sure. Energy Cycle. It's going to be a different kind of game.
Sounds good. You got one more to talk about, and that is called Ascan 2, developed and published by our good friends at 10 Tons. This one released January 12th on the Switch for $7.99, so it is out right now as you are listening to this. While traveling from Liverpool to New York, your ship was pulled down into a massive maelstrom. You wake up in a place that you may never have been gazed upon by the eyes of men. I can't talk tonight. From now on, your goal is to ascend from the center of the earth and find your way back to civilization. Step aboard a fantastic adventure. Kris, give me the deets.
All right.
I hate myself for saying deets.
Okay, so this is a game that is like, it sounds like it's going to be some cool adventure game, but it's actually a puzzle game. I found that out immediately. I honestly didn't know. Like, I didn't read anything about it. I just started it up. I was like, okay, I see this person's, there's a fantastic background. This person's looking at it. Clearly, this is going to be some kind of adventure game.
You realize I tell you the name of the games that I have for review before giving it to you so you could look it up and figure out what it is, right?
I know. Sometimes I like the surprise, though. Okay,
so is this a good surprise?
This was a good surprise because I really like this kind of game. So Asken 2 is, there's a game series that was out on the DS and the 3DS that I'm somewhat familiar with called Jewel Master Cradle of Egypt. And it's kind of a matching blocks puzzle game where you're supposed to clear blocks in the background by busting matching jewels in front of it. So it's like if there's a pyramid or something and there's 3 blocks and you can match them up, then you match them up and it turns those 3 blocks in the pyramid blue, and your goal is to turn the whole pyramid blue. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, except it's with different shapes and like different stuff. So you get into the game and basically your goal is to match up as many tiles as possible as they sort of fall into place once you bust 3 or more of them. And the more that you bust, the more that the Tesla coils that are up the top of the screen will like zap more spots on the board, and they'll all like kind of drop down. And once you recolor all of the background tiles by, like I said, either through the Tesla coils or by busting like icons in front of it, then a piece of like something that you're going after. In the first level, it's your binoculars. So you need to put together your binoculars with 4 pieces. And so that's the first 4 levels. And so the pieces of binoculars will show up on the playing field, and you're supposed to match and make disappear all of the icons underneath that piece of binocular so that it travels to the bottom, and then you win the level. And you have all this goes against a timer, which is very can be very stressful, but it's a pretty forgiving timer for the first several levels. And basically, as you put together different tools for the lady who stars in this game, I don't remember her name. She's I don't know. I wasn't really paying much attention to the story. It's just
a puzzle game. It doesn't really need a story, really.
Yeah, it's like Puzzle Quest. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's just a way to string together a bunch of levels. But yeah, once you find these different tools, they will actually, they can be toggled to show up on the actual game board, and they have different varying effects that that help you out. Of course, you don't want, once you get a whole lot of tools, you don't want them all in the playing board because that makes less icons to be able to match in regular gameplay, So it's kind of a thing of like sort of customizing your board to be the game that you want to play. And yeah, like sort of like Sparkle Unleashed before it. It's like, it's a familiar type of game that we've seen on mobile platforms before, but it's so like the aesthetics, the music, the graphics, like everything looks really nice. It's really fun to play. And of course it sucks you right in. So it's basically, like I said, it's your kind of familiar, jewel matching sort of game. Not quite like Bejeweled, but a Bejeweled fan would definitely love this kind of game. Yeah,
I do enjoy the kind of twist that it puts on matching 3 instead of just like swapping places with one or tapping on a group. You actually have to kind of like work with this.
Yeah, you trace. Yeah, you either, with the controller, the stick, you either have to like sort of drag across the number of icons that you want to match up, or you can grab a stylus and actually just draw a line across them. And honestly, this game is about 5 to 10 times better with a stylus. Of course, the Switch doesn't come with one, and you could use your fingertip. I guess.
Do.
Yeah, on your $300 screen.
Screen protectors, buddy. That's what they're there for.
I don't know. I got ironically, a PlayStation VR stylus.
Oh God!
But I don't know.
Wait,
why
a stylus for the PlayStation VR?
No, it's a stylus for things. It just has the PlayStation logo on it.
All right, that's
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yes, if you have a stylus or your fingertip, this game is way better than with the controller. So this is one that is definitely sort of geared towards the portable version of the Switch, if you catch my drift. And actually, an addendum to my previous review of Sparkle Unleashed. Yes, you can use a stylus on Sparkle Unleashed. In fact, it's way good.
Nice.
So,
you should use the touch screen of a touchscreen device more frequently.
Well, I will now. Now that I have a stylus
with touch screen games.
I learned my lesson.
So
and just in time, like I said, because Azken 2 is so much more fun with the stylus than without.
Nice. So $8, your verdict, sir.
Oh yeah, $8 for sure. This is a lovely little heap of addiction.
Sounds good.
Yep.
You got a bunch of good games, huh?
I sure did.
Holy shit! Why am I giving you all the good stuff?
Well, like it's been mostly all good on Switch.
True, a lot of good stuff.
I had to buy myself a 200 gigabyte memory card for this guy.
Ooh, look at you getting all the extra jibble bits.
I've got them jibble bits.
Well, we're going to send you packing and bring Cole in for one more to talk about. So do you have any final thoughts to sum everything up?
I beat King Oddball. I'm really happy about that.
Another 10 tons game.
Yeah, exactly. Another 10 tons game. So now I've officially beaten a 10 tons game. And thank you, fellas. It's been really, really fun. Good to the last drop.
All right. Finally, we have 2 games to talk about with just quick updates. The first one is Tiny Metal. Our friend Tom covered this one just a few episodes ago. This one developed by Area 35, published by Unties Games, which is Sony Music Entertainment Japan's indie publishing label. Released December 21st on Nintendo Switch, Steam, and PS4 for $24.99. Turn-based strategy game of intrigue with a distinct Japanese flavor that takes place in the aftermath of your king's assassination. Roll out the tanks, create more troops, expand your squad, and struggle for territory with war room levels of control. Follow the gripping story of Nathan Grease and answer for yourself what is and what isn't worth fighting for. Like I said, Tom covered this one a few episodes ago. He really, really enjoyed the game. I just got my hands on the Nintendo Switch version, put some time into it at MAGFest, and just wanted to throw my impressions in here as well. I thought it was pretty much, if you've ever played an Advance Wars game in your life and you enjoyed it, this feels like a must-own game. I know what I did want to address was Tom mentioned one of his gripes was that while some of the in-game events are in English, the actual voice acting for cutscenes is not. And that is actually one of my biggest gripes with the game. This is a very, very, very story-heavy game. And I can understand a game that's heavy in story with Japanese voice acting might not always get an English dub because it's a lot of work and a lot of effort goes into hiring voice actors, retranslating everything, re-recording everything, replacing the audio. You have to worry about size constraints. My gripe with all of that is the cutscenes have auto-advancing text. So if you're watching a cutscene and you're trying to read along to it and someone, walks into the room and starts talking to you and takes your attention away, you can't just listen to the story. Your attention has to be on the text. And after, lines are spoken in the game, in lots of RPGs, especially ones that have Japanese voice acting with English text, there will be a button prompt to move to the next set of lines. Yeah. Not in this game. It just auto advances all of the text in cutscenes. So if you're in a cutscene and something distracts you, you're going to miss a lot of info, because one of the other issues that I had with the game is that the cutscenes in this game can be incredibly long. Like there is a lot of story in this game. This isn't a turn-based strategy game with a little bit of story here and there. This is a story-heavy turn-based strategy game. Gameplay, Tom covered all the gameplay elements before. This is, top-down turn-based strategy game with modern war aesthetics. Again, if you've ever played Advance Wars games, you know what you're getting into. The game is fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. I have no gripes with the actual in-game events and what goes on there. My biggest gripe is pretty much just the story stuff. I wish there was some way in this game to make it pause in between lines and cutscenes, at least throwing an option there, because I missed a big chunk of the story. Because again, I played this at MAGFest. MAGFest is pretty much a 4-day party.
Yeah.
If I'm in my room playing a game, there's a very good chance people are just going to show up and start hanging out. And it happened while I was playing this, and I just missed minutes of story with people coming in and hanging out, and they're asking like, "Oh, hey, what's this game that you're playing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Tiny Metal for the Switch." Like, "Oh man, how is it? Tell me about it." I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to focus on the story." "Oh, what kind of game is it? Tell me about it." It's really cool graphics, really cool looking game. Yeah, visuals look great looking game. The voice acting, if you can't have it in English, which I understand you can't always have it in English, especially indie games, give us some kind of option to slow things down so we could read it at our own pace. Otherwise, it's just a massive step backwards. Otherwise, though, I do agree with Tom. Really, really awesome game and definitely worth picking up. Don't know if we'll ever see it on Xbox, though. I guess that's one of the downfalls of something being published by Sony Music Entertainment Japan. They're separate from actual Sony Interactive, so who knows? Maybe there's a chance in the future. Maybe it could be self-published, don't know. There's also been concerns, a lot of controversy going around about the game and some embezzlement claims. I am hoping to get the PR guy of the game on the show shortly. I talked with him at MAGFest about all the issues. I know even Tom, he brought it up on his Facebook, and I had the PR guy drop by his page there to address everything. And from what we've been informed, all of the claims are false claims, and hopefully we could get him on the show to explain everything and figure everything out. But if you're interested in this game, don't be concerned that there's some kind of nefarious scheme behind it, because there isn't, and it's just a really cool game worth checking out.
Cool.
And then the final game, a quick update on NBA Playgrounds. We talked about this one a few months ago when it released on Xbox, PS4, and Switch. It actually just got an enhanced edition released on the Switch, which is what we're going to talk about. This one developed by Mad Dog Games and Saber Interactive, published by Saber Interactive. The enhanced edition released January 4th on the Switch for $19.99 and is a free upgrade for current NBA Playgrounds owners, but is a completely separate download. Apparently, the upgrades here and the enhancements were too big to be a patch on the Switch. I don't know how that shit works over there. So it is completely separate downloaded title. So technically, if you bought the original NBA Playgrounds, you can download this one free, and you have 2 separate files on your Switch. To celebrate the release of the Enhanced Edition, it is also on sale half off for $9.99 until January 18th. So I want to mention it on this show so people have a shot to buy it. Classic NBA action is back. Take your A game to the playground and beat the best in high-flying 2-on-2 basketball action. Again, the NBA Playgrounds, the new update includes all of the free post-launch content that has been released so far for the title on Xbox, PS4, and PC. This includes over 100 new players from different eras, including people like Julius Erving, Steve Nash, Tim Duncan. It includes second team jerseys, a 3-point contest mode with online play, revamped rebounding system, and despite all of the additional content, it actually reduces the game's file size by like 2 gig.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure. Apparently the original release wasn't optimized properly, so this new version adds in a lot of shit and makes it smaller. Users should note that the new edition of NBA Playgrounds is a completely separate standalone title from the original version of the game, must be downloaded independently through the eShop. And if you're not sure which version is which, the Enhanced Edition has a gold frame around the game's icon. Players can safely delete the old version of NBA Playgrounds, but do not delete the save file. The important thing here is your save file from the original game does carry over and convert to the new version of the game. Afterwards, that save file cannot be used on the original version of the game anymore, though.
Interesting.
So this is pretty much replacing the original one. Online play will remain functional for the previous version of the game, but if you only have the original version of the game, you cannot play with people who own the enhanced edition. And again, if you already own the game on the Switch, you can get the enhanced edition as a free download. Gameplay-wise, everything plays exactly the same. 2-on-2, it's pretty much the rebirth of the NBA Jam style of game with over-the-top dunks, crazy abilities. It's just really fun 2-on-2 street basketball. Enjoyable game. I think it's really cool that they brought all these updates and enhancements to the Switch version of the game. I think it's weird that you have to completely re-download it, but
yeah,
I don't know how the Switch works. So overall, though, if you already owned it on the Switch, you just download it. You own it. So why wouldn't you get it? Yeah,
why not?
It's a free update. If you haven't played it before, given the fact that it's only $10 on sale until the 18th, I think it is absolutely worth picking up. I originally did have complaints with how the AI can. It's one of those games where if the computer doesn't want you to win, you won't win. I haven't really seen any kind of difference in the AI in my time with it. I haven't poured as much time into it as I've wanted to. I did play some co-op or not co-op, but just, 2-player me versus Kris down at MAGFest. We were playing in the room, which was fun. Playing it with the Joy-Cons is easy enough to just use the tiny little controller and play. A lot of fun. Again, $10. If you don't have it, this is definitely worth picking up for only $10. And if you already own it, get the update. It's free. A lot of extra shit. But that is it for this episode. Cole, thanks for coming on and chitty chatting the news. And I know you'll be back on soon. We have plenty more to talk about, but I still have a lot of rest and recuperation to do after MAGFest and after this episode. Music, gonna be more Lonely Rolling Stars, gonna be more Viking guitar, just good shit from MAGFest, and maybe a couple surprises too. But that is it for this episode. Cole, do you have any final words?
Fucking no. Have fun.
Hey, 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 hey. You all right.